Chapter 875. Time passed day by day. Li Qingyang and the others were actively cultivating, preparing to enter the planar battlefield. Our Jun Changshao would sometimes squat in the toilet with a bitter expression, sometimes tossing and turning in bed in the middle of the night, unable to sleep. 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute. 50 seconds. 40 seconds, Jun Changshao sat in his study, his eyes never leaving the mission panel that only he could see. The final minute of the epic mission was also counting down. Damn it! He had been waiting for a year. It felt as long as 10,000 years. Beep! 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 The time kept ticking, until it reached 10 seconds. Jun Changshao stood up, stretched out his hands, and sang with deep emotions, "Come, come, meet in 98, meet under the silver moonlight, ding." Sect level reached 4th rate, top 80 on the Heroes Seeking Deities board, met the requirements. Epic mission completed, completion rate 125%. Host has received 20,000 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 4420050000. Ding! Sect contribution points overflow. After the time reached 0, a beautiful notification sounded in his ears. Jun Changshao stopped wailing, and a calm expression appeared on his face. Don't be anxious, don't be anxious. This was just the beginning, the real show was coming, because he had to collect the rewards of the 2 epic missions. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing Epic Mission 7. You have received Supreme Grade Aptitude Modifying Liquid X10, High Grade True Yang Battle Boots Formula X1, High Grade True Yang Battle Robe Formula X1, High Grade True Yang Mask Formula X1, High Grade Steel Wings Formula X1. Hearing that there were 3 types of equipment with similar names, Jun Changshao was a little stunned. This seemed like a set of equipment in a game. Also, he had received a top-tier True Yang sword formula. Could it be that the 4 were one? And the steel wings, could it be that they were similar to the mechanical wings? Ding! Congratulations to host for completing Epic Mission 8. You have received Saint Aptitude Modifying Elixir X5, Medium Grade Body Shaping Elixir X1, Medium Grade Soul Shaping Elixir X1, Heaven Origin Soul Suppressing Tower X1, and newly opened Talisman X1. Ding! Congratulations host for breaking through to half-step Wusheng. Ding! Ding! The recipes that appeared in the spatial ring were automatically matched. 4 new types of equipment appeared in the smithing pavilion, and 2 new types of pills appeared in the medicinal pill pavilion. Comfortable, perfect. After the notification ended, Jun Changshao put his elbows on the table, covered his right hand with his left hand, and covered his face with his right hand. His body began to tremble slightly, and then there was a devilish laughter. After the completion of the 2 Emperor-level epic-level quests, the rewards were truly plentiful. Not to mention the said equipment, just the Supreme Saint's 2 aptitude liquids and the intermediate soul molding pill were already amazing. My 1 year of waiting was not in vain. Jun Changshao was very satisfied, but this wasn't the time to get carried away. He hurriedly opened the forging pavilion and clicked on the equipment with the True Yang prefix. Just as he had guessed, this was indeed a set called the True Yang 4-piece set. Wearing boots, battle robes, wearing a mask and holding the True Yang sword would increase the user's speed, defense, and strength by 20%. Only 20%? Jun Changshao was a little dissatisfied. In his opinion, an increase of at least 100% would be considered amazing. The system was speechless. The high-grade equipment in the shop is not inferior to the Falling Star Continent Saint-level equipment. The minimum requirement to wear it is Martial King. This 20% increase is quite amazing. The strength of low-level martial artists wasn't too different, and it was hard to say who would win. But the higher the level, the greater the impact. The strength of the planar battlefield is generally stronger than the Falling Star Continent. If I wear the True Yang 4-piece set, I won't be weak. Jun Changshao thought to himself. The system said, the host's core disciples have gone through all kinds of tempering, and their spirit roots have been upgraded. They are generally at the extreme level. If you have this equipment with a 20% increase, you will be comparable to the superior level. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, these equipment are made of the same materials as the True Yang sword. It's just a matter of quantity. Coincidentally, I have some stock in the ring. I can forge some first. He filled in the quantity and confirmed the forging. Jun Changshao clicked on the high-grade steel wings. The introduction said that this was a type of equipment that could increase flying speed. The advantage was that it could be used immediately. The disadvantage was that it could only be used after reaching the Emperor level. To put it bluntly, it was an auxiliary flying tool. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, it's a far cry from the mechanical wings I bought. Nonsense. This was a reward. The mechanical wings were bought with contribution points. There was definitely a difference. If the reward was better than the shop, would you still be in the mood to spend? Jun Patriarch's current situation was that he had become a VIP. The reward for completing an epic mission was similar to the monthly VIP reward. Although it was useful, if he wanted to be stronger, he could only continue to spend money in the shop. So the slogan was, if you don't have money, you can't play. The steel wings required 6 types of ores, and Jun Changshao just happened to have them. So, since he was given them, he might as well forge 20 of them. The advantage of letting the purchasing hall be responsible for purchasing all kinds of things at all times was reflected here. As long as there was a new item, it would be convenient for him to forge it. He didn't have to go to the purchasing hall just to gather enough materials for a piece of equipment. Jun Changshao clicked on the mid-grade body shaping pill and soul shaping pill in the pill pavilion. The use of these two items was obvious from their names, but their effects were definitely better than the low-grade ones. He had the materials, but he couldn't mass-produce them. Jun Changshao forged them first, then said, when we have enough materials, we'll mass-produce them. Make them the sect's must-take pills. The so-called must-take pills meant that no matter their level, inner or outer sect, as long as they entered the sect of all times and met the requirements, they must take them. These top-grade and holy-grade aptitude liquids will be left for the inner sect disciples. Jun Changshao's spiritual sense entered the space ring and locked onto the exquisite pagoda. He thought, this is the heaven origin soul suppressing pagoda? The system explained, it's a treasure. I know. Jun Changshao wasn't a martial arts newbie anymore. Just from the name and appearance, he knew that the heaven origin soul suppressing pagoda was a treasure. What he cared about now was what level this thing was and what use it had. The system said, there are only 3 uses for pagoda. One is that it can be enlarged and has a universe inside, such as the training pagoda. The second is an offensive form that can be used to smash people. The third is a defensive form. I hope it's the second one. Jun Changshao said. He had been smashed by that earth-ranked powerhouse's palm strike many times in the dimensional battlefield. If he wanted revenge, he would definitely give him a taste of his own medicine. Swoosh! With a wave of his hand, the heaven origin soul suppressing pagoda was brought over. Huff huff! Suddenly, the pagoda released a faint fluorescent light that circled around Jun Changshao like fairies. The system said, this is to sign a contract with the host. Is that so? Jun Changshao released a wisp of his soul and touched the fluorescent light. He instantly felt an electric current and established some kind of connection with the heaven origin soul suppressing pagoda. So simple and convenient. Chapter 876. He only needed to release a wisp of his soul to easily sign a contract with the heaven origin soul suppressing pagoda. He did control it, but this thing did not come with an instruction manual. How could he use it? Jun Changshao played with the exquisite pagoda in his palm. He thought about it for a while but could not figure out the key point. Then, he waved his hand. Go, heaven origin soul suppressing pagoda. Plop! The pagoda fell to the ground without any movement. Jun Changshao, the system master, is so stupid. At this moment, a light and sweet voice came from the heaven origin soul suppressing pagoda. Then, rays of fluorescent light appeared and turned into the illusion of a 5 or 6-year-old girl. The little girl was not tall, and her black hair was like a waterfall. Her eyes were big and round, and she looked very cute. "You're a weapon spirit?" Jun Changshao asked. "Yes." The little girl smiled. "I'm the weapon spirit of the Heaven Origin Soul Suppressing Pagoda. Master can call me Yingying." Jun Changshao hated Yingying the most in his previous life. He did not expect his newly contracted weapon spirit to have such a name. What should he do? Should he punch it down? Yingying is not a nice name. From now on, you'll be called. Jun Changshao thought for a while and said, "Area." The system broke down. "This name is comparable to the host's Go Sheng." "Yes, Master." The weapon spirit smiled. The system, it agreed to such a tacky name without even thinking. Was it because it had a problem with the host's brain that it signed the contract so quickly? Jun Changshao asked, "How do I use the Heaven Origin Soul Suppressing Pagoda?" "Master." Arya smiled sweetly. The Heaven Origin Soul Suppressing Pagoda has two functions. Which one do you want to hear? Both. Jun Changshao said. Arya sat down and put her hands on her ankles. The first function of the Heaven Origin Soul Suppressing Pagoda is to suppress any energy inside and then slowly purify it for your own use. Oh? Jun Changshao asked curiously, "Be more specific." Arya said, "Let's put it this way. For example, other people's psionic power cannot be absorbed under normal circumstances. If it is absorbed into the pagoda, after being suppressed and purified, the master can directly absorb it." So powerful? Jun Changshao widened his eyes. Suppressing and purifying other people's attributes and then taking them for oneself, wasn't that similar to the soul race's absorption ability? Of course. Arya said, "The Tianyuan soul suppressing pagoda can't actively absorb it. It can only absorb it passively. This involves the second function." "Continue," Jun Changshao said. Arya paused and said, "The second function is to use it to transform into its final form. It can be used to smash people or defend. Once it enters a defensive state, it will automatically absorb the energy that is within its tolerance range and suppress it. In that case, the Heaven Origin Soul Suppressing Pagoda can be used for both offense and defense." "That's right." Jun Changshao was overjoyed and asked, "How do I transform into the final form?" "You need the mnemonic chant to activate it," Arya said. Jun Changshao asked, "What mnemonic chant?" "The mnemonic chant is..." Arya stood up and placed her hands in front of her chest to make a heart shape. Then, she pushed it out and shouted, "Go, my darling." Jun Changshao's expression froze. After a while, he broke down and said, This is the fucking mnemonic chant?" "Yes," Arya said with a smile. Jun Changshao sat down cross-legged and put a hand on his chin. He said thoughtfully, "It's a little hard to say." The system, this was not a little hard to say. This was something that no normal man would do. Jun Changshao could also shout out "Go, my darling" in public, but it was very difficult for him to imitate a little girl and make a heart gesture with his hands. "Just this one mnemonic chant? Just this one?" "Master, I'm going back." Arya had just finished speaking when she returned to the Tianyuan Soul Suppressing Pagoda. Jun Changshao put his hands behind his back and thought, why don't I give it a try? Ding! The system has entered a temporary dormant state. Even the system couldn't bear to see a man doing such a shameless thing. Cough, cough, cough. Jun Changshao cleared his throat and waved his hand to turn the camera that was aimed at him at any time to one side. Thus, the scene that appeared on the screen of the reader was a void inside the space ring. "Go! My darling!" The voice came. When the camera adjusted its angle and turned around, Jun Changshao was still standing with his hands behind his back, with the demeanor of a martial arts master. A few feet in front of him, a huge pagoda that was hundreds of feet tall appeared. At the top of the pagoda, there was a faint cloud lingering around, giving off a sacred and inviolable aura. This was the final form of the Tianyuan Soul Suppressing Pagoda. Very strong. Jun Changshao said, as long as I find the right opportunity to give the Earth-level powerhouse a hard blow, I'll definitely smash him until he can't take care of himself. Ding! The system has restarted. You tried? I tried. The system broke down and said, how shameless can the host be to do such a shameful thing? Thinking of Arya's action just now, letting a man do it, it had goosebumps all over its body, although it did not have a body. Shwa! Jun Changshao waved his hand, and the Tianyuan soul-suppressing pagoda turned into a pocket-sized pagoda, and then landed on his palm. He murmured, the vacuum cleaner still has the attributes extracted from Palace Master Shi sealed in it. Suppressing it in the pagoda should be able to purify it, right? Let's give it a try. Taking the magically modified vacuum cleaner, he immediately entered the soul-suppressing pagoda with a thought. This pagoda only had one floor, and the environment inside was as illusory as the space ring. Master! Arya smiled. Jun Changshao said, just release the energy. Arya nodded. Jun Changshao put down the vacuum cleaner, then turned on the dust collector. Whoosh! 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 A gush of strange attributes flew out like clouds and then tried to break through space, but it was fiercely bounced back. Paw! Suddenly, the sound of a whip was heard. Arya held a slender red whip in her hand, and said eerily, coming here means you are my prisoner. If you dare to run around, you must be punished. Paw paw paw. She swung the whip 3 times in a row, hitting the strange attributes. It was strange to say that the energy extracted from Palace Master Shi did not have a physical body, but every time the whip hit it, a clear sound could be heard, as if it was hitting a real person. What made Jun Changshao even more surprised was that the originally scattered strange attributes gradually condensed into a human form after being whipped a few times. Although it had no eyes, nose, or face, it curled up in a corner and trembled. It seemed that it was afraid of being beaten. Master! Arya said proudly, this is the soul-suppressing whip. Any energy that is hit will be forced to condense into a human form, and endure the pain caused by the whip until it is beaten into submission. All the harmful energy will be destroyed, and then it can be safely extracted. Do I have to keep hitting it? Keep hitting it. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched slightly. He finally understood that the so-called purification of energy by suppressing it in the soul-suppressing pagoda was actually whipping. Too cruel, too inhumane. That, Jun Changshao turned around and took 2 steps back in fright. 2 burning red candles appeared in Arya's hands out of nowhere. Her little face leaned in front of the fire, and she smiled eerily, Master, this is my second treasure, the soul-suppressing candle. It can also purify harmful energy. Jun Changshao was speechless. Her cute little face suddenly turned into a devil's. If she was not holding a whip, then she was holding a candle. I, as a weapon spirit, seem to have some incredible hidden attributes. Caw! 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 The strange attributes in the corner were handcuffed with bracelets and ankles. Arya clapped her hands and smiled innocently, Master, leave this guy to me. I can purify it in about 1 or 2 months. Chapter 877. The uncanny attribute was equivalent to being locked in a dungeon, and Arya was equivalent to the head of the prison. As for running away, it was impossible. She could only accept the result of being purified. Jun Changshao left with satisfaction. He could not control Palace Master Shi's thoughts to make her go berserk, but it was not a good idea to keep her in a vacuum cleaner. It was good to have a place to discipline her. If I get beaten up by a group in the future, I can directly activate the defensive form and absorb all the external forces for Arya to purify. Then, I can take it for myself. Wouldn't my strength increase exponentially? Jun Changshao's eyes lit up. The system said, it's just a metaphor. It can't really absorb the energy of other people's cultivation. That's true. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, I still have to take the right path. I can't take the unorthodox path. The system was speechless. He said it as if using cheats to upgrade was the right path. The sky outside was already bright. Creak. Jun Changshao opened the door and walked out. He stood in the courtyard and stretched his arms. He took a breath of fresh air and said with a face full of joy, "My whole body feels comfortable." How could it not be comfortable? He had obtained contribution points and many equipment resources. His realm had also increased to half-step saint. Speaking of realms, Jun Changshao seriously felt it and found that a special energy the size of a grain of rice appeared in his dantian. This was the power of space. Jun Changshao had broken through to Wusheng with the talisman of heaven and earth, and the energy he condensed was much purer than this. Strictly speaking, the so-called half-step Wusheng was still at the emperor level. However, because it had the qualification to spy on the power of space, it was specially separated. The half-step saint level only has a preliminary grasp of the power of space. It can't really achieve instantaneous teleportation, so only by breaking through to Wusheng can it really be used. Jun Changshao thought to himself. It had only been 4 or 5 years since he came to the Falling Star continent, and he had broken through to half-step saint from level 2 meridian opening. This speed was fast. However, a chef who did not want to be a general was not a good tailor. Therefore, Jun Patriarch's goal was to step into Wusheng and become a martial emperor. Then, he would build the sect into the strongest sect and start his unrestrained new life. Ding! A notification sounded in his ears. After one night, he had refined more than 10 sets of True Yang battle boots, True Yang battle robe, and True Yang mask. The 3 pieces of equipment had an ancient style, especially the battle robe. Although it looked like a steel chest, there was also a red robe and a cape draped over his body, similar to the armor of a general in ancient times. As for the silver-white True Yang mask, it could only cover half of his face, very much like the mask worn by Ku Tianla's Yanggua. On the whole, the battle boots and the mask were considered small pieces, while the battle robe was the bigger piece, because it was full of red robes, breastplates, shoulder plates, belt, knee guards, and wrist guards. Shwa! Jun Changshao put on the True Yang 3-piece armor set. His crimson battle robe, which was as red as blood, covered half of his shiny silver armor. With a wave of his cloak, he looked like an iron-blooded general who was about to go to war. It's a pity that I don't have the True Yang spear. Otherwise, I would be even more handsome. When he was refining equipment, he had seen the equipment introduction and learned that the battle boots, battle robe, and mask were a set of 3 pieces. In terms of weapons, there was a high-grade True Yang sword, a high-grade True Yang spear, and a high-grade True Yang bow. If he changed to a spear or a bow, there would be different effects. This kind of 4-piece set made Jun Changshao certain that it was completely prepared for soldiers. After all, spears and bows were more suitable for army battles. Patriarch. At this time, Li Luoqiu walked into the courtyard. However, when she saw Jun Changshao wearing the True Yang set, she subconsciously froze on the spot. The Patriarch, who was always dressed in white, suddenly put on the battle armor and stood proudly in the courtyard. He really had the demeanor of a general who was leading an army. Hall masterly Jun Changshao waved his cloak and placed his right foot on the stone bench. His elbows rested on his thighs, and he propped his chin up with his hands. He raised his eyebrows and pretended to be profound as he asked, "Am I handsome?" Pht! Li Luoqiu covered her mouth and laughed, saying, "Patriarch, you are so flirtatious." Jun Changshao put down his leg and said, "Why do you want to see me?" Li Luoqiu stopped laughing and said seriously, "Little Mo sent a message. In a few days, he will take the opportunity to leave Taixuan Shengzong and return to the sect to cultivate." Jun Changshao said, "Inform Dudu to prepare food in advance." "That's not necessary." Li Luoqiu said with a smile, "This girl loves little Mo the most because he is undercover. She has prepared a set of nourishing food early and is waiting for him to come back." Alas! Jun Changshao sighed and said, "It's really hard on my disciple." Qingyang and the others were all cultivating in the sect, and their realms were increasing day by day. Only Su Xiaoma went out to be an undercover, and his cultivation speed in Taishan Shengzong was not fast. When he comes back, I have to reward him. The so-called reward could only be natural spirit stones. After all, there were many martial arts facilities that he could not continue to enjoy. Inform Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and other core disciples to come here, Jun Changshao said. Yes. When Li Luoqiu left, she asked, Patriarch, your armor should not be simple, right? Do you have a female version? Jun Changshao took out a set and put it on the stone table, saying, communicate with it with your mind, and you can change the size and style of men and women. Come, I have a ready-made set here. You can wear it first. The procurement hall and drizzle hall had always been managed by Li Luoqiu, and she was also vigorously developing the outside intelligence. In terms of merit, she was not inferior to Li Qingyang, so naturally, she would not be stingy. In the courtyard, Li Fei touched the true yang armor that was given to him, and said weakly, Patriarch, this armor does not look as good as the spirit armor. Wear the 3 pieces, and take out the Azure Sun sword, and you will know. Jun Changshao said. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others returned to their respective rooms, and then put on the true yang armor. Their bodies were fit and beautiful, and when they supported the armor, they were truly extraordinary. Second senior brother. Li Fei tidied his belt and walked out, and then hung the true yang sword, saying, although it is quite comfortable, there is no change. I also did not change. Xiao Ziji did not feel any difference, but felt that the cloak behind him was a bit of a hindrance, so he simply rolled it into a ball and casually put it on his shoulder. Not long after, Yi Xingqian also walked out. Although it was Pei Aniu's body, it still had the soul of the Night Emperor, and after many years of tempering his body, wearing the true yang armor was like a god descending to the mortal world. Junior brother Yi, where's your mask? Humph, this kind of thing used by women, holding it will only embarrass men. Li Qingyang said, Patriarch is waiting in the courtyard, let's go over. After a while, everyone lined up neatly in the courtyard. Not bad, not bad. Jun Changshao nodded in satisfaction. Patriarch. Li Fei scratched his head and said, we've all worn it, but there's no change. Are you sure you're all wearing it? Yes. Where's the mask? Only then did Li Fei remember that there was still a mask, so he took it out from his waist and said, Patriarch, are you going to wear it on your face like this? Jun Changshao said, that's right. Just as Li Fei was about to put it on, a thick and heavy aura suddenly came from the left. Xiao Ziji put on the mask first and slightly released his aura. He felt that his strength had obviously increased, so he said in surprise, Patriarch, I feel stronger. Li Qingyang also put on the mask and said excitedly, after this disciple put on the mask, I feel that my strength has increased by at least 10 to 20%. Pa! Li Fei didn't think any further and directly put the mask on his face. Sure enough, just as second senior brother and junior brother Xiao had said, after releasing his cultivation, he felt that his strength had increased. Moreover, it wasn't only his strength, but his legs that were wearing combat boots were also lighter than before. Not only did it increase my strength, it also increased my speed. Li Fei said in surprise. Long Xiang, Tian Qi, Yang Yuhua and the rest all put on their masks. After confirming that their strength had increased, their faces were filled with excitement. This mask is too magical. Could it be a treasure? Jun Changshao explained, combat boots, armor, mask, and Azure Sun sword are called the True Yang 4 sets. As long as they are equipped at the same time, their speed, defense, and strength will increase by quite a bit. Heavens! This is too awesome! Tian Qi, Long Xiang, Song Xianzhou, and the rest were all shocked. Wearing 4 pieces of equipment to increase their overall strength completely subverted their understanding of martial arts. The True Yang 4 sets didn't just have an amplification effect. In fact, just by wearing it alone, it could increase one's strength by quite a bit. The combat boots could increase one's speed, the armor could increase one's defense, and as for the mask, it was nothing more than a decoration used to show off. Li Qingyang and the rest wore the True Yang 4 sets, which was equivalent to wearing 4 pieces of top-grade equipment. They were like RMB warriors that had been charged with money. Patriarch Yi Xingchen said, "This disciple will leave for a moment." N. Jun Changshao nodded. Yi Xingchen left silently and hurried to his residence after leaving the courtyard. He took out the mask that he had casually thrown in the trash can and put it on his face without caring about the dirt. He felt that his strength had increased by different degrees and said in shock, "Too magical, too unbelievable." Chapter 878. Jun Changshao gave Su Xiaoma a lot of natural spirit stones to make up for his lost cultivation time. Even Li Qingyang and the others couldn't compare to this. As for the True Yang set, mid-grade body-shaping pills, and soul-shaping pills, he also gave Su Xiaoma 2 surge talismans. Although Su Xiaoma couldn't use the surge talisman for now, once he reached the peak of Martial King, he would have 2 chances to become Wu Huang. It would be more convenient to save his life in times of need. Of course. Jun Patriarch was still considering if he could use old man Jun Tian's identity to put on a show for his disciple. How? When to put on a show? However, the most important thing was that his appearance had to be stylish. He had to create sparks and lightning along the way. Only then could he shock the Taishan Shengzong and make them value Su Xiaoma more. I have to plan this well, Jun Changshao thought to himself. Su Xiaoma asked Elder Wei about his relationship problems and focused on cultivation. Because his cultivation stagnated and he was lagging behind his peers, he couldn't go to the dimensional battlefield. Moreover, he didn't have much time left the Taishan Shengzong. A few days later, after going through the Tower of Trials, the Life and Death Secret Realm, and the Space-Time Secret Realm, he came to the main hall and said, "Patriarch, I have to go back." Jun Changshao said, "Be careful." Yes. In front of the mountain gate, the disciples sent Su Xiaoma off. Lu Wancher wiped her tears and waved her hand. "Senior brother, if you don't have enough food, you can go back to the sect to make up for it." She made a lot of snacks this time. They could be stored in the interspatial ring for a while. "Thank you, junior sister." Su Xiaoma walked to the foot of the mountain and turned to wave at the patriarch and his peers. After leaving southwest Yangzhou, he would put on the magic modification mask and return to his identity as Su Jintang. Although he had been undercover in the Taishan Shengzong for a year, it was just a pretense. Only in the sect of all times could he find the feeling of home. Therefore, in order to go home and complete the patriarch's task, he had to climb up quickly. "Patriarch," Lu Wancher said worriedly, "Senior apprentice brother Su won't be exposed, right? What if they were discovered? Will he be captured and tortured?" Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. "Girl, can't you think of something more auspicious?" Of course. This kind of thing also had to be carefully considered. In any unexpected situation, the safety of the disciples must be the priority. After sending off Su Xiaoma, Jun Changshao clapped his hands and said, "It's time to get down to business." "What's the matter? Going to the planar battlefield to cause trouble?" "Ta! Ta!" Lu Qianshan, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, Li Fei, Tian Qi, He Wudi, Long Xiang, Yang Yuhua, Ling Yuanxue, and Song Xianzhou stopped at the entrance of the planar battlefield. Zhou Hong couldn't go for the time being, because he hadn't reached the pinnacle of the Sword King realm. There was a difference between the Sword Dao and the Martial Dao. It wasn't just about increasing one's grade. Of course, as long as one had a profound understanding of the Sword Dao and became a Sword Emperor, their combat strength would definitely be stronger than their Martial Dao peers. Other than the eldest disciple, Li Qingyang and the others all wore the True Yang armor. They were like generals going to the front lines to provide support at any time. Jiangye, the Ning brothers, the Pavilion Elder, Ding Xingwang, and Gong Sun Haohai stood in front of the 10 disciples. Currently, the 6 of them were the true upper echelons of the sect of all times. As for the Elder Wei, although he had recovered his strength, he was still managing the herb farm behind the scenes. The Purple King and the 100 Hills King had also come. These 2 beasts were comparable to saints. they were definitely at the level of golden fighters. As for whether they could beat up that Earth-class expert, that would depend on the two of them and Ding Xinguang. Shua! Not long after, Jun Changshao walked over. Little Long Long and Xiao Maxian followed behind their master. The two of them still didn't like each other. They glared at each other all the way until their eyes were sore. They stopped in front of the Outer Realm Battlefield's teleportation gate. Jun Changshao said with a serious expression, "The planar battlefield is extremely dangerous. You must treat it seriously. Don't underestimate the enemy." "Yes." Everyone shouted. "Okay." Jun Changshao snapped his fingers and said, "Let's go." Shua! Li Qingyang was the first to enter the teleportation gate. When he heard the realm does not match, cannot enter notification, he crushed the surge talisman given to him by the Patriarch. Detected that the intruder has reached the Emperor class and meets the minimum requirements to enter. Activating the teleportation device. 10% increase. 30% increase. 100% increase. Teleportation. Xiao. Li Qingyang disappeared into thin air. As expected. Jun Changshao said, "We can use the surge talisman to sneak in." Xiao Ziji, Li Fei, and the others who had yet to reach the Emperor class crushed the surge talisman and were teleported in order. Their blood burned during the process, and they were a bit nervous. Just how terrifying was the planar battlefield that could injure the Patriarch so badly? Looking forward to it. Super looking forward to it. The sky was dark, and the ground was blood red. A dense killing intent rippled in the air. This was the planar battlefield, an Azura field where only killing and being killed could be found. In the stronghold that represented the falling star continent, which was only a few dozen square meters in size, flags fluttered in the wind. It seemed a bit desolate. Damn it! Where did that guy go? Outside the stronghold, 20 to 30 martial artists in uniform floated in the air, their faces filled with anger. They were from the Scarlet Sea continent. The first person that Jun Changshao killed in the planar battlefield was from this plane. "Big brother," a martial artist said in a deep voice, "that guy couldn't have been killed by someone else, right? If he was killed, there should be a notification." The middle-aged man in the lead frowned. "It's strange. Why would the falling star continent appear in the planar battlefield out of thin air? Why is there only one person?" The others were also puzzled. According to the rules of the battlefield, at least 2,000 people had to be sent in. The stronghold given to them was also quite large, unlike the falling star continent, which was only the size of a room. Could it be that he washed off the red light and secretly hid in some corner of the battlefield? Someone guessed. At present, that's the only possibility. They didn't think too much about why the falling star continent stronghold appeared. Instead, they had been looking for Jun Changshao for more than half a year. Getting blood was secondary. The most important thing was to avenge their dead companions. Swoosh! Swoosh! Suddenly, dozens of streams of light flew over from afar. These people came from the Lingyun continent. Like the Scarlet Sea continent, they were also looking for Jun Changshao. Normally, there was no need to pay attention to anything in the planar battlefield. They could just kill on sight. However, the powerhouses of the two planes were separated by hundreds of feet, yet they didn't reveal any fighting intent. It wasn't that they didn't want to fight. It was that they had gradually formed a tacit understanding after fighting so many times. If they wanted to fight, they had to arrange a time to go to the Azura field. The Azura field. It was a main killing area. According to the rules of the upper realm, the designated planes had to enter the Azura field to kill within a certain time. Of course. This rule was added later. It wasn't in the beginning. The reason was that the upper realm wanted the lower realm to kill each other. The lower realm martial artists weren't stupid. They would often form a tacit understanding. If you don't offend me, I won't offend you. They let you kill each other, but you ended up sitting together drinking tea. This situation was awkward. Therefore, the upper realms set a rule that new planes had to enter the Azura field to kill within a certain time. Chapter 879. To make up for Su Xiaoma's wasted cultivation time, Jun Changshao gave him a lot of natural spirit stones. Even Li Qingyang and the others couldn't compare to this. As for the True Yang set, mid-grade body-shaping pills, and soul-shaping pills, he also gave him 2 surge talismans. Although he couldn't use the surge talisman for now, once he reached the peak of Martial King, he would have 2 chances to become Wu Huang. It would be more convenient to save his life in times of need. Of course. Jun Patriarch was still considering if he had the chance to act as Old Man Jun Tian for his disciple. How to act? When to act was particular. However, the most important thing was that his appearance had to be stylish. It had to be flashy. Only then would he be able to shock the Taishan Shengzong and make them value Su Xiaoma more. I have to plan this well, Jun Changshao thought to himself. After Su Xiaoma learned about love from Elder Wei, he focused on cultivation. Because his cultivation had stagnated and he was lagging behind his peers, he couldn't go to the dimensional battlefield. Moreover, he didn't have much time left the Taishan Shengzong. A few days later. After going through the Tower of Trials, Life and Death Secret Realm, and Spacetime Secret Realm, he came to the main hall and said, "Patriarch, I have to go back." Jun Changshao said, "Be careful." Yes. In front of the mountain gate, the disciples sent Su Xiaoma off. Lu Wancher wiped her tears and waved her hand. "Senior brother, if you don't have enough food, you can go back to the sect to make up for it." This time, she made a lot of snacks. They could be stored in the interspatial ring for a while. "Thank you, junior sister." Su Xiaoma walked to the foot of the mountain and turned to wave at the patriarch and his peers. After leaving southwest Yangzhou, he would put on the magic modification mask and return to his identity as Su Jintang. Although he had been undercover in the Taishan Shengzong for a year, it was just a pretense. Only in the sect of all times could he feel at home. Therefore, in order to go home and complete the patriarch's task, he had to climb up faster. "Patriarch," Lu Wancher said worriedly, "Senior apprentice brother Su won't be exposed, right? What if they were discovered? Will he be captured and tortured?" Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. "Girl, can't you think of something more auspicious?" Of course. This kind of thing also had to be carefully considered. In any unexpected situation, the safety of the disciples must be the priority. After sending off Su Xiaoma, Jun Changshao clapped his hands and said, "It's time to get down to business." "What's the matter?" "Going to the planar battlefield to cause trouble." "Ta! Ta!" Lu Qianqian, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, Yi Xingchen, Li Fei, Tian Qi, He Wudi, Long Xiang, Yang Yuhua, Ling Yuanxue, and Song Xianzhou stopped at the entrance of the planar battlefield. Zhou Hong couldn't go for the time being. Because he hadn't reached the pinnacle of the Sword King realm. The Sword Dao was different from the Martial Dao. It wasn't just about increasing one's grade. Of course, as long as one had a profound understanding of the Sword Dao and became a Sword Emperor, their combat strength would definitely be stronger than their Martial Dao peers. Apart from the eldest disciple, Li Qingyang, and the others all wore the True Yang armor. They were like generals going to the front lines at any time. Jiangye, the Ning brothers, the pavilion elder, Ding Xingwang, and Gong Sun Haohai stood in front of the 10 disciples. Currently, the 6 of them were the true upper echelons of the sect of all times. As for Elder Wei, although he had recovered his strength, he was still managing the herb fields behind the scenes. The Purple King and King of 100 Hills also came. These 2 beasts were comparable to saints. They were definitely at the level of golden fighters. As for whether or not they could beat up that Earth-class expert, that would depend on them and Ding Xingwang. Shua! Not long after, Jun Changshao walked over. Little Long Long and Xiao Maxian followed behind their master. The 2 still didn't like each other. They glared at each other all the way until their eyes were sore. They stopped in front of the Outer Realm Battlefield's teleportation gate. Jun Changshao said with a serious expression, "The planar battlefield is extremely dangerous. You must treat it seriously. Don't underestimate the enemy." "Yes." Everyone shouted. "Okay." Jun Changshao snapped his fingers and said, "Let's go." Shwa! Li Qingyang was the first to enter the teleportation gate. When he heard the realm does not match, cannot enter notification, he crushed the surge talisman given to him by the patriarch. Detected that the intruder has reached the Emperor class and meets the minimum requirements to enter. Activating the teleportation device. 10% increase. 30% increase. 100% increase, teleportation. Xiao! Li Qingyang disappeared into thin air. As expected. Jun Changshao said, "You can sneak in with the surge talisman." Xiao Ziji, Li Fei, and the others who had yet to reach the Emperor class crushed the surge talisman and were teleported in order. Their blood burned during the process, and they were a bit nervous. Just how terrifying was the planar battlefield that could injure the patriarch so badly? Looking forward to it. Super looking forward to it. The sky was dark, and the ground was blood red. A dense killing intent rippled in the air. This was the planar battlefield, an Azura field where only killing and being killed could be found. In the stronghold that represented the falling star continent, which was only a few dozen square meters in size, flags fluttered in the wind. It looked a bit desolate. Damn it! Where did that guy go? Outside the stronghold, 20 to 30 martial artists in uniform floated in the air. They had faint anger on their faces. They were from the Scarlet Sea continent. The first person Jun Changshao killed in the planar battlefield was from this plane. "Big brother," a martial artist said in a deep voice, "that guy couldn't have been killed by someone else, right? If he was killed, there should be a notification." The middle-aged man in the lead frowned. "It's strange. Why would the falling star continent appear in the planar battlefield out of thin air? Why is there only one person?" The others were also puzzled. According to the rules of the battlefield, at least 2,000 people had to be sent to enter this place. The stronghold given to them was also quite large, unlike the falling star continent, which was only the size of a room. Could it be that he washed off the red light and secretly hid in some corner of the battlefield? Someone guessed. At present, that's the only possibility. They didn't think too much about why the falling star continent stronghold appeared. Instead, they had been looking for Jun Changshao for more than half a year. Getting blood was secondary. The most important thing was to avenge their dead companions. Swoosh! Swoosh! Suddenly, dozens of streams of light flew over from afar. These people came from the Lingyun continent. Like the Scarlet Sea continent, they were also looking for Jun Changshao. Normally, there was no need to pay attention to anything in the planar battlefield. They could just kill on sight. However, the powerhouses of the two planes were separated by hundreds of feet, and they didn't show any intention to fight. It wasn't that they didn't want to fight. It was that they had gradually formed a tacit understanding after fighting so many times. If they wanted to fight, they had to arrange a time to go to the Slaughtering Azura field. The Slaughtering Azura field. It was a main killing area. According to the rules of the upper realm, the designated planes had to enter the Slaughtering Azura field to fight within a certain period of time. Of course. This rule was added later. It wasn't in the beginning. The reason was that the upper realm wanted the lower realm to kill each other. The lower realm martial artists weren't stupid. They would often form a tacit understanding. If you don't offend me, I won't offend you. They let you kill each other, but you ended up sitting together drinking tea. This situation was awkward. Therefore, the upper realm set a rule that new planes had to enter the Slaughtering Azura field within a certain period of time to start killing. Chapter 880. To put it bluntly. At the edge of the planar battlefield, cultivators from different planes could live peacefully. However, once they entered the battlefield, they had to fight to the death. When Jun Changshao came to the planar battlefield for the first time, he was also hunted down by others. They didn't fight. For each other's 10 merit points, there was no need to fight to the death. It was obviously more tempting for a new plane cultivator to get 100 merit points. Planes like the Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent had been in the planar battlefield for many years. They knew each other well. If they didn't have a reason to fight, they would either argue or fight a few rounds at the edge of the planar battlefield. Although the planar battlefield was used for killing, it was rare to see a fight on site, apart from the old bullying the newcomers. When a plane's stronghold expanded to a certain extent, not only would the mission be completed, but they could also freely enter and exit the planar battlefield. They could come here to kill for merit points and search for opportunities. The Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent were in this situation. They had been designated a few hundred years ago to enter the planar battlefield. After expanding their territory, they had successfully completed the mission and obtained the right to enter the planar battlefield at will. This meant that as long as the designated plane completed the mission, they could keep the teleportation device for later generations to come and fight or search for opportunities. Only those planes that entered for the first time and were forced to fight for territory. Of course. There was another situation that could cause a big fight. That was when a cave or opportunity was discovered. For rich resources and merit points, people would go crazy. For example, a few decades ago, two planes that were equal in strength and even greeted each other when they met began to fight in a corner of the planar battlefield because of a divine-grade treasure. That battle was earth-shattering, and blood flowed like a river. After the outcome of the battle was decided, the treasure was also taken away by the other plane. In truth, such fights over supreme treasures and fortuitous encounters were not uncommon in the planar battlefield, which had a long history. It was unrealistic to say that they fought every day. Unless a cultivator wanted to seek excitement or earn merit points, they would go on a killing spree alone or in a small group. However, they would often be beaten to death, and the grass on their graves would grow a few meters long. A few dozen cultivators from the Lingyun continent stopped in the sky above the stronghold. The white-haired old man in the lead said calmly, "You guys are quite diligent." "Likewise, likewise." The leading middle-aged man from the Scarlet Sea continent put on a fake smile. The two planes had fought fiercely before, but they were evenly matched in terms of strength. They had fought a few times, and there had been many casualties, but there had been no clear victor. Thus, when they met, there was only the smell of gunpowder, and they did not dare to really fight. During the period when Jun Changshao had disappeared, the martial artists from these two planes had come the most frequently. The main reason was that they were relatively close to each other. They also hoped that they could kill Jun Changshao and obtain the 500 bounty. "In my opinion," the white-haired old man said indifferently, "that kid has already washed away the red glow. He's hiding in a corner and doesn't dare to come back." "Humph," the middle-aged man said coldly, "he killed so many martial artists of my Scarlet Sea continent. Even if that kid hides at the ends of the earth, he won't be able to escape death." "I'm sorry." The white-haired old man said indifferently, "This prey belongs to my Lingyun continent." "Yours?" The middle-aged man sneered. From the moment they met to the moment they spoke, the murderous aura in the air grew stronger and stronger, but there was no intention of fighting. "Let's go." The white-haired old man waved his hand. "They mainly came over to take a look. If they didn't find their target, they naturally wouldn't stay for long." "We'll go back too," the middle-aged man said. However, just as the two groups of people were about to leave, a person appeared out of thin air in the falling star continent's stronghold. Even the area of the stronghold expanded by half a meter. This place, after stabilizing himself, Li Qingyang looked at the stars in the sky and the crimson ground beneath his feet. He muttered, "This is the planar battlefield?" Whoosh whoosh. In an instant, a powerful murderous aura pressed down from two directions. Only then did Li Qingyang realize that there were dozens of martial artists comparable to Emperor Realm experts floating in the air. Their gazes were unfriendly. Although the Patriarch had said that there were many martial artists here, however, he couldn't help but be shocked when he saw so many Emperor-level experts who could fly. This lineup was on the falling star continent. It would probably only appear during some major event. Dozens of pairs of eyes from the Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent stared at Li Qingyang. Soon, they could tell that this person wasn't the bloodthirsty guy from back then. However, since he appeared in the stronghold, it meant that he was also from the Falling Star continent like that guy. "Kid!" The middle-aged man coldly shouted, "Hurry up and come out." He couldn't be sure if Jun Changshao was alive or not. If he was, he could kill this kid and get blood drop. The white-haired old man thought so too. He hurriedly returned with his companions and hovered outside the stronghold. His eyes were filled with endless killing intent. "It's a little scary." Li Qingyang was panicking. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment Lu Qianqian, Xiao Ziji, and the others appeared in the stronghold. When they were on the ground, the Falling Star continent's stronghold would expand. It wasn't difficult to see the pattern. As long as the martial artists representing the Falling Star continent entered the battlefield, the stronghold would expand by half a meter. This was an initial value that would continuously increase with the number of people. When the limit was reached, even if everyone from the plane was brought in, there would only be a fixed area. If they wanted to expand, they would have to fight non-stop. Seeing a few more martial artists from the Falling Star continent, the martial artists from the Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent began to mutter. Logically speaking, the next batch of designated planes would only come in 5 years. Why were there martial artists entering in advance? Or was it intentional by the upper realm? The upper realm, fuck, I'm the scapegoat for the martial artists' imagination. Whoosh! 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 One after another, Long Xiang, Song Xianzhou, and the others appeared in the Falling Star continent's stronghold. When they felt the world with a strong murderous aura and felt the experts who were comparable to emperors in the air, their eyes were burning. Here. As the patriarch said, it was more terrifying than the life and death secret realm. It was a little exciting. Whoosh! Whoosh! Jiangye, the Ning brothers, and the other elders also appeared. When Xiao Longlong and Xiao Maxian came in, the Falling Star continent's stronghold expanded from the initial 20 square meters to more than 30 square meters. The eyes of the martial artists from the Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent gradually lit up. In their eyes, the 20 or so martial artists from the Falling Star continent were 20 prey that could be slaughtered at any time. Whoosh! At this moment, a familiar figure appeared in the Falling Star continent's stronghold. When the martial artists from the Scarlet Sea continent saw this, their eyes were filled with murderous intent. That's right, the one who caused such a big reaction was naturally the handsome Jun Go-sheng. Welcome back to the dimensional battlefield. The female system's voice rang in his ears. Jun Changshao was the one who set up the portal, so only he could hear it. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others did not have this function, so they were in a state of confusion. Jun Changshao steadied himself and glanced at the two groups of people outside. He smiled and said, "You know that I'm coming back today, so you're here to welcome me?" "Welcome my ass." The middle-aged man gritted his teeth and said, "You killed so many martial artists from the Scarlet Sea continent. Wash your brains clean and come out to die." Jun Changshao understood. Although he had left the dimensional battlefield for a while, these people did not give up and should come to visit every day. Die? Jun Changshao snapped his fingers and sat down elegantly. At this time, Xiao Ziji would definitely pass him a chair, but because he was in an unfamiliar environment and was still adapting, he ignored the patriarch's reminder. Plop! Jun Gosheng fell to the ground. The disciples, the martial artists, in this extremely awkward situation, Jun Changshao simply lay on his side, his elbow on the ground, his palm on the side of his face, his right leg on his left leg, and his body in N's shape. He then used the one yang finger and the lion roar at the same time. Come in. Chapter 881. P.S. The next 15 chapters will be released consecutively. It is inevitable that there will be mistakes. If there is a mistake in the chapters, please do not panic. I will refresh or delete the chapters and add them back to the bookshelf to read the latest content. June Patriarch fell to the ground. The situation was very awkward. However, this guy reacted well. He laid on the ground and posed. Not only did he stabilize the situation, but he also provoked them. This guy was really arrogant. The two existential plane cultivators were instantly enraged. Humph! The middle-aged man sneered. Don't play dead on the ground. Come out. Jun Changshao stood up and snapped his fingers again. This time, Xiao Ziji came back to his senses and hurriedly placed a chair in front of him. Jun Changshao sat down steadily and crossed his legs. He picked up a cigar with one hand and condensed a flame with the other. After lighting it, he said, "Don't be impatient. Let me take a breather first." He was not pretending. He was analyzing the strength of the dozens of martial artists. 2 Xian. More than 30 Huang. Huff. Jun Changshao blew out a smoke ring and said to himself, "It's not a big problem." Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others were also staring at the group of martial artists in the air. Their eyes were shining with a strong desire to fight. These people were obviously stronger than the spirit beasts in the life and death secret realm. If they could fight with them, it would be very exciting and satisfying. Under Jun Patriarch's guidance, the disciples of the sect of all times could definitely be called warmongers. The two martial artists also looked at the martial artists from the Falling Star continent. Seeing that most of them were at the lowest Huang level, they sneered. "Patriarch," Ding Xingwang said, "as long as we kill them, we will get merit points and expand our base?" "That's right," Jun Changshao said. Ding Xingwang said eagerly, "When do we do it?" "Now." The disciples were holding the Surge Talisman, so every second was precious. Therefore, Jun Changshao didn't waste any time. His eyes suddenly became cold as he waved his hand and said, "Disciples, listen up. Get rid of these people." "Yes." Shwa. Shwa. Whoosh. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others stepped out of the stronghold one after another. Each of them rubbed their palms together, and the powerful aura emanating from their bodies made them seem like demons who had just broken their seals and walked out of hell. If they were on the Starfall continent, their opponents would definitely panic upon seeing such a scene. But in the planar battlefield, they didn't know each other, and neither of them was willing to submit to the other. Why would they care? They even thought that she was putting on an act. "You really dare to come out?" The middle-aged man sneered. Even though Zhang Xian did not understand why so few people had entered the Falling Star continent, he was certain that the Falling Star continent was designated as an emerging plane. Since they were here, they had to undergo proper military training. Bullying newcomers was the joy of the Crimson Sea continent's martial artists. Over the years, the number of martial artists that fell at their hands was not few. Swish! At this moment, the white-haired elder from the Lingyun continent who had been silent all this time rushed over first. His vast aura exploded like a raging wave. The fact that the young man was still alive meant that the blood of the Falling Star continent still existed. If he could kill him first, he could easily obtain 100 merit points. The middle-aged man thought the same. The moment the white-haired elder attacked, he hurriedly pressed down. The two black experts were competing to see who could attack faster and take down the first blood of the Falling Star continent first. Whoosh! Whoosh! The experts from the Crimson Sea continent and the Lingyun continent attacked from both sides. Their auras were clearly much stronger than that of Mu Changhong, a half-sage. Li Qingyang and the others, who were warming up, did not pay attention to them. Instead, they stared at the 30 yellow-level experts, because these were their opponents. "Leave the leftmost one to me. I choose the second one. Leave the ugly one to me." They were communicating with each other through telepathy and determined their targets. Die! Whoosh! Whoosh! The white-haired elder waved his hand, and a majestic palm print condensed. This guy's killing move was a large-scale attack. Obviously, he wanted to take down not only the first blood but also more merit points. Ta! Just as the palm print was about to press down, Ding Xingwang suddenly appeared in their field of vision. He raised his head slightly, and a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said a classic line, "How can the light of a firefly compete with the brilliance of the sun and moon?" Whoosh! His right fist suddenly punched toward the sky. Whoosh! 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 The powerful evil aura turned into a huge fist, and with an earth-shattering force, it directly shattered the palm print. The white-haired elder, who attacked, immediately retreated a few feet back. When he stabilized his body, he said in shock, "An Earth-level expert?" Buzz! Suddenly, the space behind him rippled. Die! Old Ding walked out from inside, and a palm containing 5 types of evil aura came directly toward him. The white-haired elder just turned around, and with the best angle, he received the palm print with the most complete right side of his face. However, with a bang, his whole body fell to the red ground like a cannonball. The ground trembled, and dust filled the air. The martial artists present all had spiritual thoughts, and they immediately noticed that the white-haired elder had sunk into a deep pit. His face and skin were black, and his breathing had completely stopped. He was dead. The Earth-level expert had been killed instantly. The middle-aged man who attacked from the other side was shocked. Just as he was considering whether to continue attacking or retreat, a powerful airwave suddenly erupted from below, and a red flame slashed from below. Not good. Boom! The flame slash exploded in mid-air, and immediately formed a rain of fire, dyeing the dark gray area red. The one who used the red sky raging flame slash was Gongsun Haohai. He stood in front of the disciples and raised his arm again. 2 light beams quickly condensed, and then with a whoosh, they entered the explosion zone. Boom! Under the 7 mystic light beam, the middle-aged man was blasted out, and then he paused in the air. Not only were his clothes tattered, but there were also 2 dents on his chest. Wah! Blood spurted, and his face was pale. Old Ding was a wusheng, and it was easy for him to kill an Earth-level expert. Gongsun Haohai, who had just entered the Half-Saint realm less than 2 years ago, had heavily injured an Earth-level expert from the Scarlet Sea continent with just 2 moves. It was enough to show that after becoming an elder of the sect of all times, his strength had increased significantly. Take his life while he was down. Gongsun Haohai did not give his opponent any chance to breathe, and once again condensed the red sky raging flame slash and attacked. Boom! Faced with such a fast and domineering move, the injured middle-aged man could not dodge. He was once again hit by the blazing flame slash and fell down like a kite with a broken string. The martial artists from the Scarlet Sea continent and Lingyun continent were all dumbfounded. In their eyes, this new martial artist was only here for military training, but in the end, he had killed and injured their 2 Earth-level experts in an extremely short time. Retreat, retreat, retreat! Someone came back to his senses and shouted loudly. Easily killing and injuring 2 Earth-level experts, this Falling Star Continent's martial artist was very strong. Retreating was the wisest choice. Retreat? It was too late. Just as the middle-aged man landed, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others had already communicated with the power of flight and rushed over. Furthermore, with the enhancement of their steel wings, their speed was extremely fast. Whoosh! Li Qingyang was the first to rush over, the true Yang's sword in his hand glowing. It suddenly cut through the void, forming an extremely cold sword aura. Li Fei and the others either used the red sky raging flame slash or the 7 mystic light beam. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, scorching heat and light flashed outside the Falling Star Continent's stronghold like fireworks, gorgeous and colorful. Puchi! Where the sharp sword passed, an arm flew out. After crippling an arm, Li Qingyang charged over again with his sword. Boom! Boom! A Scarlet Sea Continent martial artist condensed a move and blasted it at Xiao Ziji. Not only did the latter block it with his physical body, but he also did not retreat half a step. There was no time to think, and he ran away. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, the surrounding space was filled with dense earth elements. Walls of earth formed, and in the blink of an eye, this martial artist was sealed in. Xiao Ziji rushed in, his eyes burning with passion. Come, let's have a good fight. Boom! Boom! Ah! The disciples outside the sect shook the heavens and the earth. Jun Changshao sat on a chair, smoking a cigar, and said with a smile, "Experts on the battlefield, I'm back. Are you ready?" Chapter 882. Boom! Boom! Within the 4 earthen walls, Xiao Zui was still attacking. It was supposed to be a hearty battle, but in the end, they were beaten up like sandbags. In the end, they were bounced around the walls until they lost all signs of life. Before entering the planar battlefield, Jun Changshao had warned his disciples not to be merciful and to kill whenever they had the chance. Even the kind-hearted Li Qingyang followed his master's orders. After chopping off the arm of a Lingyun continent warrior, he decisively swung his sword and cut off the opponent's head. In the planar battlefield, being merciful to others was being cruel to oneself. The one with the best performance was Yi Xingchen. In a short period of time, he had already killed 3 people. His attacks were very clean. Retreat, retreat, retreat! A Scarlet Sea Continent martial artist shouted. This was just a beautiful wish, because Jiang Xia, the Ning brothers, and the others had also rushed over. Some warriors might not be weaker than the Sect of All Time's disciples, but against the higher-ups of the Sect of All Times, they had no way to retaliate. Only death awaited them. Some ran quickly, but just as they thought they were out of danger, they saw Elder Gu rushing over. With a wave of his thick hand, he directly smashed the target to the ground. He had the azure sun's set and the steel wings. Brother! It was better to give up on healing. Boom! Boom! The killing continued. Blood splattered everywhere. In a short period of time, more than 20 warriors who had come to the Falling Star continent to take a look turned into corpses scattered across the crimson ground. Of course. Some took the opportunity to run far away. Whoosh whoosh, a Red Sea continent warrior who had just flown out turned back in horror. His entire body was instantly swallowed by a ball of flames. Can you run? Little Longlong's childlike head emerged from the flames, like a devil that had walked out of hell. No, that warrior cried out in despair. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the flames exploded, and he was instantly reduced to ashes. Little Longlong's eyes were filled with disdain. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, on the other side, a sky full of feathers exploded, killing the Lingyun continent warriors who had fled far away. Poochie, Poochie! Xiao Moxian flapped her wings and floated in the air, looking at the little dragon like a proud princess. TSK, Little Longlong snorted, "What a troublesome burden." Say that again. You're a hindrance. Oil. Bottle. Nearly 40 warriors from the 2 planes were wiped out in a short period of time. The speed was extremely fast. As for the stronghold on the Falling Star continent, it expanded from 30 meters to 70 meters. Shwa! Jun Changshao walked out. He stopped in front of the half-dead middle-aged man and asked indifferently, "Who's playing dead now?" The Crimson Sea continent's Shen-titled expert was in so much pain that he couldn't speak. His meridians had been severely damaged by the 7 profound sunglow, and he was already heavily injured. Shoo, saber light flashed and a head fell to the ground. Congratulations to the participant for killing a Shen-titled martial artist. The reward is 10 merit points. The female system's voice sounded. Only 10 points. Jun Changshao shook his head. The first time he killed a Shen-titled martial artist, he was given 20 points. Now that he was classified as a Shen-titled martial artist, he was only given 10 points at the same level. That's right. Jun Changshao said, "How much do I get for killing a low-level yellow-titled martial artist?" 5 points. The female system said. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched, "If I'm an earth-titled martial artist, how much do I get for killing a yellow-titled martial artist? 1 point. Sky to kill a yellow-titled martial artist? 0 points. Jun Changshao put away the green dragon crescent blade and rubbed his chin. It seems that I have to calculate how to maximize the merit points I get. If he killed a low-level martial artist himself, he would get 5 points. If he encountered a yellow-titled martial artist, he would get 10 points. Clean up the battlefield. Yes. The disciples began to move. Before long, everyone took back the spatial rings of dozens of people. After Jun Changshao checked them one by one, he broke down and said, "Why isn't there anything good?" The system said, "In this kind of battlefield where you can die in the next second, who would be so showy as to bring all kinds of resources and wait for others to pick up their belongings?" Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "I thought too much." As he spoke, he walked back and forth in the stronghold. Small flags were placed all around the stronghold. In this year, his realm had been stuck, but he had not been idle to grow flowers and plants. He had taken a high-grade formation aptitude liquid early and occasionally went to study formations with Shen Dejuan. With the help of the imaginative Shengguan Xinyao, the three of them had successfully developed a new type of lightning formation. It was very powerful. After killing so many people from the Crimson Blood continent and the Lingyun continent, the other side would definitely send out more powerful martial artists. Therefore, it would be very satisfying to set up a lightning formation outside the stronghold in advance and blow them into a mess. Although Jun Changshao came here to fight, he must have thought carefully about how to make himself invincible. Once bitten, twice shy. The dangerous situation where he was chased to the point where he had nowhere to run was not allowed to happen again. That was so satisfying. The martial artists here are more resilient than those from the Falling Star continent. I had to throw a few dozen punches to get rid of that guy. If it was a normal Wu Huang, he would have died long ago. While Jun Changshao was setting up the formation, the disciples gathered together to discuss the battle just now. Their faces were filled with excitement. Although the battle had not lasted more than 10 minutes, the strength of the enemy made them realize that this plain battlefield was very exciting and very suitable for training. Unfortunately, it could only exist for 2 hours. The Purple King stood to the side with his hands behind his back. A trace of disdain appeared on his face. He and the King of 100 Hills did not attack. First, it was Jun Changshao's orders. He wanted to give the disciples a chance to fight. Second, the opponent was too weak. To put it bluntly, these two Beast Tribe martial artists were comparable to Saint-level martial artists. They would only show their value after an Earth-level martial artist appeared. Moreover, after learning that high-leveled martial artists killing low-leveled martial artists gave less merit points, Jun Changshao would let them fight less unless it was necessary. He would let the disciples deal with them to maximize the merit points. Ding Xingwang, the Purple King, the King of 100 Hills. Gong Sun Haohai, Little Dragon, Xiao Ma Xin. The 6 of them were the strongest representatives of the sect of all times. In terms of strength, they corresponded to the Earth-level and Hera-level martial artists. Of course, Jun Patriarch, who had broken through to the half-saint level, was also quite strong. However, under these circumstances, he definitely would not try to find someone to fight one-on-one. If he had the chance, he would lead the disciples to fight as a group. First, he would expand the base. Patriarch Li Qingyang stood in the base. He looked around at the empty space and said, "Do we need to build the base?" This guy's occupational disease was acting up again. Jun Changshao said, "We should." Li Qingyang's eyes lit up. He said, "Disciples should build a large hall first." Although the base had expanded to around 100 meters after killing a few dozen martial artists, there was definitely not enough space to build a large hall inside. "Go ahead." Jun Changshao thought for a while and said, "We should at least have a place to stay." The base on the Falling Star continent was empty. They definitely needed to build a place to shelter themselves from the elements. Yes. With the Patriarch's agreement, Li Qingyang first set up a table. He then took out a large stack of sketches and started to choose based on the size of the base. When he had nothing to do, he would study the sketches of buildings. Now, they were finally put to good use. "Patriarch, what do you think of these sketches?" You decide. Yes. After Li Qingyang decided on a sketch, he took out a large number of construction materials from his space ring. He called for Xiao Ziji, Li Fei, and the others to get busy. Jun Changxiao's eyes widened. This guy actually had stones, bricks, and other construction materials in his space ring. It looked like he had already thought about it before he entered. Of course. Li Qingyang had already come up with a plan after asking about the details of the planar battlefield. If not for the fact that the area was limited and he could barely build a large hall, he was confident that he could build a large group of buildings in a short time. Chapter 883. After all the building materials were in place, Li Qingyang took the lead and began to build. The first step in building a house was to dig out the foundation. Everyone gathered their strength and began to bombard the ground according to the blueprint. Soon, a series of pits were formed. Shwa! Shwa! Long Xiang unsheathed his sword, cutting down wooden pillars until they were round. Hoo! Xiao Ziji sat in the distance. He gathered the dug-up soil into the shape of a brick and then baked it with a high-intensity flame. Jun Changxiao, if my disciples don't cultivate martial arts in the future and go out to become carpenters, they definitely won't starve to death. If the martial artists were to see a group of yellow-rank powerhouses building a house, their jaws would drop to the floor in shock. Big brother. This is a cruel planar battlefield, not your backyard. Can you be a bit more serious? Can you be a bit more serious? Shwa! 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 After the bricks were refined, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others began to move the bricks and lay the bricks. They worked very carefully. Old Ding, Jiangye, and the others also came over to help. Xiao Moxian had nothing to do. She grabbed a pile of mud and threw it at the little dragon. Paw! You dare to hit me! The little dragon lifted the mud bag beside it and smashed it at Xiao Moxian's head. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji's lips twitched. This contract beast of the patriarch didn't know how to give in to a girl at all. Everyone busied themselves. The construction speed was extremely fast. 20 to 30 minutes later, a grand hall was erected in the stronghold, occupying 90% of the space. The grand hall's style was similar to the grand hall of the Sect of all times. Because of time constraints, the construction was relatively simple. It didn't have a grand and majestic aura. Of course. There was still a lot of room for improvement. It would slowly be perfected in the future. Patriarch. Li Qingyang took out a plaque with the word Starfall Continent engraved on it. Should we hang it up? This thing had been prepared in advance. How thoughtful. Jun Changxiao waved his hand and erased the words on the plaque. Then, he condensed his strength and redrew the words. He said with satisfaction, "Hang it up." Yes. Li Qingyang flew over and hung up the plaque. Jun Changxiao stood outside the main hall. From his point of view, he could see the words, "The strongest sect of all time," written on the plaque. The flag that represented the plane was also placed on the roof and waved in the wind. From this moment on, the Starfall Continent was officially listed in the planar battlefield and had its first building. Everything is ready. We only need those who are here to die. Jun Changxiao sat in front of the grand hall, one foot on a chair and his arm resting on it. Xiao Longlong and Xiao Moxian stood behind him, their faces covered in mud, like two protectors. Old Ding, Gongsun Haohai, and the other higher-ups of the Sect of all times stood in 2 rows near the stairs. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others below the first prince were facing the outside of the stronghold. Because they were wearing the true Yang suit, they looked like generals guarding the palace. Hoo! Right at this moment, streaks of light flew over from the east at an extremely fast speed. Gou Xing smiled. Those who are here to die are here. Whoosh! 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 In an instant, streaks of light streaked across the sky from afar. They quickly gathered in the sky above the stronghold. There were as many as 60 of them, and from their clothes, it was obvious that they were from the Scarlet Sea continent. The leader was a middle-aged man with a resolute expression. He wore a black suit and exuded an aura that could swallow mountains and rivers. His goal this time was to find Elder He, who had led the team out and had yet to return. Elder Lee. A martial artist pointed below and said in shock, Elder He is dead. The middle-aged man also saw the corpses of Elder He and the other martial artists. His expression changed slightly, and then he looked at the young man sitting in front of the stronghold's main hall. He said with a cold gaze, "You killed them." "That's right," Jun Changshao said indifferently. The middle-aged man's gaze became colder and angrier. However, at this moment, he saw the corpses of the Lingyun continent martial artists in the distance and was shocked. "You killed them too?" "That's right." Jun Changshao was satisfied with a person who was about to die. He answered whatever he asked. Although the middle-aged man's face was filled with anger, his heart had gradually calmed down. There were nearly 40 martial artists from his side and the Lingyun continent. There were even 2 black powerhouses. All of them had died in front of the stronghold of the Falling Star continent. This meant that the other party was not weak. He might not be able to take advantage of them. "Let's go," he shouted coldly. He made a prompt decision to leave and return to the stronghold to inform the others. It was undoubtedly the right choice to send a stronger team. Unfortunately, when everyone was about to turn around, Xiao Longlong and Xiao Maxian had already circled to the back. The 2 enemies were either shaking their heads or clenching their fists. "Since you're here," Jun Changshao said, "how can you leave so easily?" Whoosh! 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 Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others flew out, their eyes flashing with battle intent. Just the thought of being able to fight with an emperor-level expert at any time and any place made them excited. "Kill!" the middle-aged man shouted. Whoosh whoosh! As he spoke, he gathered a vast aura and attacked Xiao Longlong, who was blocking his way. He wanted to rush out with everyone and return to the stronghold of the Red Sea continent. He wanted to inform the others about the situation here. "You're courting death." Xiao Longlong's right fist blasted out. Flames instantly burst out and turned into a flaming fist that collided with the middle-aged man's power. Boom! A huge explosion occurred, rolling up billowing heat waves. The middle-aged man who attacked took a few steps back. After stabilizing his body, he said in disbelief, "This guy looks like he's only at the yellow level. Why is he so strong?" Whoosh whoosh! Xiao Longlong carried a sky full of flames, like a fire god descending to the mortal world. He said coldly, "Because I'm handsome." Boom! Boom! Under the sky full of flames, the middle-aged man was beaten back. In the end, he decided to take a detour and quickly moved in another direction. Although Xiao Longlong was only at the emperor level in his second form, his strength was very explosive. Flying feathers in the sky. At this moment, a clear voice came from the sky. Whoosh! 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 A blade-like beam of light shot out from the sky. The expression of the middle-aged man, who had just avoided the flame attack, suddenly changed. He quickly formed a hand seal and shouted, "Nine Dipper Seal." Wang! 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 9 enchantments instantly condensed in front of him. Peng peng peng! The flying feathers in the sky smashed into the enchantments, creating billowing smoke. Whoosh! The middle-aged man flew out. Of the 9 enchantments in front of him, 4 were broken. It seemed that the problem wasn't too great. After all, this middle-aged man was a black-level powerhouse. Xiao Maxian's strength was at most at the peak emperor level. If she wanted to injure him, she would have to find a flaw in his defenses. Who? 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 Blazing hot flames howled from behind him once more. Damn! The middle-aged man was enraged. He could only helplessly contend with Xiao Longlong's erupting flames. There was no chance for him to escape. From time to time, Xiao Maxian would take advantage of every opening to launch sneak attacks. Like this, a half-saint powerhouse was successfully stalled by Jun Changxiao's 2 contract beasts. Crimson Heaven's Raging Flame Slash. On the other side, Long Xiang flew forwards. He condensed a flame seal in his palm and then blasted it through the void. Bang! The 2 yellow-level martial artists joined forces to break apart this attack. They glanced at each other and then erupted with their cultivations. They weren't as thorough as the middle-aged man. They believed that since there were only a dozen or so people coming out from the stronghold, they should be more than enough to deal with him. Crimson Spirit Light. Sea Crossing Light. Whoosh! 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 Several Red Sea continent martial artists took this chance to use all sorts of martial skills, condensing beams of light that shot towards Long Xiang. In a battlefield without rules, they didn't care about numbers. They could even launch sneak attacks, because only those who survived were the victors. Chapter 884. This is a bit troublesome. Seeing all kinds of gorgeous martial skills flying towards him, Long Xiang frowned slightly. Although relying on the true Yang set, he was not inferior to those experienced yellow rankers, but to receive so many attacks, he definitely wouldn't be able to withstand it. Shwa! At this moment, Xiao Ziji rushed over and waved his hands. Buzz buzz buzz! A materialized earth wall instantly appeared around them, enveloping the 2 of them. This defensive wall was gathered by the earth spirit and supported by Xiao Ziji's great desolation body. The aura it emitted was as if several ancient mountains had been moved from the ancient wasteland. The Red Sea continent's martial artists sneered. Although the wall looked a bit thick, if we all attacked together, even a top yellow ranker might not be able to withstand it. Boom! 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 All kinds of light beams smashed onto the wall, stirring up a gust of wind. However, under the cold aura, the earth wall erected around Xiao Ziji and Long Xiang did not have any cracks. The Red Sea continent's martial artists who were attacking together were dumbfounded. Although their strength was not the strongest in the yellow level, when 5 or 6 of them attacked together, the power was extremely terrifying. The Falling Star continent's martial artists relied on the earth wall to withstand it without any cracks. This was too shocking. Bang! Bang! The earth wall dissipated one after another. Xiao Zuiji raised his head, grinned, and said, "So exciting. To be able to exchange blows with this level of expert, to be able to use the power of defense to experience an even stronger power, it made his blood burn crazily." Go! Li Qingyang shouted. Li Fei, Tian Qi, and the others rushed up from the left and right. Their eyes flashed with passion as they locked onto an opponent and began to attack crazily. At that moment, as long as it was a sect of all times martial skill, they would use it. Because there were more martial artists in the Red Sea continent, in order to prevent the disciples from being outnumbered, Jun Changxiao ordered Jiang Ye and the other higher-ups to fight. To be exact, it was to assist Li Qingyang and the others in fighting. Boom! He Wudi was the first to bloom. Relying on his speed and martial skills, he killed a yellow-titled martial artist on the spot. On the other end, Yi Xingchen was still fighting fiercely because his opponent was stronger than the one he had killed previously. Pucci, after exchanging more than 10 moves, Pei Ainu grasped the opponent's weakness and directly pierced through the opponent's heart. The warrior looked at the masked warrior in front of him, his eyes filled with disbelief. He was clearly stronger than him, so why did he die in his hands? Because of equipment. Because of experience. Pucci. Yi Xingchen drew his sword and charged towards the other Scarlet Sea continent cultivator without looking back. Although Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others' cultivation levels were not as high as their opponents, they had the support of the true Yang set and the experience they had gained in the life and death secret realm. Once they started to fight, they were like ferocious beasts that had been released from their cages. Patriarch. The Purple King asked, "Can I fight?" Seeing Li Qingyang and the others fighting fiercely, he really couldn't keep calm anymore. You can. Before Jun Changshao could finish speaking, the Purple King flew out and instantly approached an expert from the Scarlet Sea continent who was waiting for an opportunity to sneak attack Xiao Ziji. He raised his palm and slammed him to the ground. Rumble. The enemy fell to the ground, his chest caved in, and he died. Rumble. Rumble. The Purple King attacked twice in a row. Two stronger yellow-titled martial artists couldn't fight back at all and were killed on the spot. They couldn't be more dead. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. This guy should be an Earth-grade martial artist, but killing a yellow-titled martial artist only gave him 1 merit point. This was a complete waste of his life. At this moment, several experts from the Scarlet Sea continent gathered all kinds of power and attacked. Rumble. 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 The Purple King stepped out of the void with a vicious look in his eyes. His clothes were about to explode. Don't kill them. Jun Changshao hurriedly dissuaded him. You're in charge of watching them. Don't let them escape. Let Qingyang and the others deal with these martial artists. Okay. The Purple King could only restrain his killing intent and hover in the air with his arms crossed. Although he didn't explode his clothes, his kingly aura deeply shocked every martial artist from the Scarlet Sea continent. This guy was definitely an Earth-grade martial artist. No wonder Elderly wanted everyone to evacuate quickly. It turned out that the Falling Star continent had such a powerful martial artist overseeing it. After the Purple King displayed his powerful strength, the Scarlet Sea continent's martial artists' fighting intent immediately cooled down. They only had one thought in their minds: escape as soon as possible. Scram! Bang! A yellow-titled martial artist successfully escaped, but he was discovered by the Purple King. A slap landed on his face, and he staggered back to the battlefield. Die! Yi Xingqian quickly approached the martial artist who had yet to stabilize himself. His Qingyang sword flashed and directly beheaded the martial artist. Seize the opportunity. Our Pei Aniu is faster and more accurate than Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji. Boom! Boom! Outside the stronghold, the battle was still ongoing. With the Purple King guarding outside, the Scarlet Sea continent's martial artists could only grit their teeth and fight. One by one, they died at the hands of the upper echelons and disciples of the Sect of all times. Every time they killed someone, the stronghold would expand. The Falling Star continent's martial artists would never have dreamed that the battlefield that would only open 5 years later already had its own territory. Moreover, it was slowly expanding under the efforts of the Sect of all times. After fighting for about 10 minutes, the Scarlet Sea continent's Elderly was battered and exhausted by Xiao Longlong and Xiao Maoxian. Finally, he roared with a face full of veins and disappeared. He ran away. He used a secret technique to run away. Damn it! Xiao Longlong clenched his fists in anger. Jun Changshao said, if he ran away, then he ran away. It's no big deal. No need to be angry. Mystic martial artists had their trump cards and could suddenly disappear. This was something that no one could stop. Moreover, running away wasn't necessarily a bad thing. After all, they needed someone to spread the news and attract more martial artists to the stronghold like moths to a flame. The middle-aged man used a secret technique to escape. The remaining martial artists were in a tragic situation. After struggling to hold on for 10 minutes, they were declared dead. They might not be weaker than Li Qingyang and the others, but they couldn't fight against Jiangye and the other upper echelons of the Sect of all times. Moreover, the Purple King was guarding the periphery. Therefore, it was reasonable for them to end up like this. The battle ended. The disciples began to skillfully loot the crates. After collecting all the spatial rings, they gathered together to discuss the battle just now. That was a good fight. This battlefield is more exciting than the Life and Death Secret Realm. The opponent just now wasn't weak. I had to use all my power to barely gain the upper hand. According to normal strength, the disciples of the Sect of all times who hadn't even reached the Emperor level would definitely not be able to defeat the yellow martial artists. However, with the boost of the Surge Talisman and the True Yang set, they were able to fight back and forth. Fighting with an Emperor level at the King level would undoubtedly increase their combat experience and understanding of martial arts. This was the true purpose of the Dimensional Battlefield's teleportation gate. It wasn't used to show off, but to allow martial artists to sneak in without the restrictions of the upper realm to experience actual combat and improve their own cultivation base. As long as Li Qingyang and the others could ensure their safety, they would try their best to fight with high-level martial artists. Regardless of whether they won or lost, they would definitely benefit a lot from it. It was a pity. After 2 battles and the construction of the main hall, the Surge Talisman only had a few minutes left. When it was used up, all of them fell to the peak Wuzong level. Dear participant, the martial artists you brought don't meet the Dimensional Battlefield's rules. They will be forcefully sent out after 60 seconds, the female system reminded. Qingyang. Jun Changshao said, return to the sect first. Yes. Li Qingyang didn't waste any time. He led Xiao Ziji and the others through the teleportation gate and returned to the sect of all times. Lu Qianshan and He Wudi didn't leave because both of them had Wu Huang's strength and met the Dimensional Battlefield's rules. Chapter 885. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others could only return to the sect of all times because the Surge Talisman was up. They could come and go as they pleased. The advantages of the Dimensional Battlefield teleportation gate were once again displayed. Those powerhouses from other dimensions who were designated to fight within 5 years and expand their territory to a certain extent would definitely be envious if they knew about this. Of course. Although they had only been on the battlefield for 2 hours, they had experienced 2 fights with Emperor-level powerhouses. The benefits they gained were huge. Li Qingyang and the others returned to their rooms and began to comprehend the process of increasing their realms and fighting with yellow-level powerhouses. This was a rare opportunity to fight against high-level powerhouses. It couldn't be measured by money or resources. Soon. Yi Xingchen, who was sitting cross-legged in his room, thought to himself, I should be able to break through to Wu Huang in a few days. With the Surge Talisman's support, he had benefited a lot from fighting with powerhouses from other dimensions. Thus, the speed of his breakthrough had increased. The Dimensional Battlefield. After 2 battles and killing hundreds of warriors, the Falling Star continent's surface area had increased significantly. Patriarch Ding Xingwang said, this place isn't that scary. Jun Changshao was speechless. If he had experienced being chased by thousands of Emperor-level powerhouses, he definitely wouldn't think this way. Let's go. Jun Changshao stood up and clenched his fists. Let's go out and cause trouble. Apart from He Wudi and Lu Qianshan, the others were relatively strong. This made him unwilling to wait at the stronghold. Instead, he decided to take the initiative to gain merit points. Buzz! Just as Jun Changshao was about to lead the others out, the space in front of them suddenly shook. A white-haired old man appeared from inside, exuding an extremely strong aura. It was obvious. This was an Earth-level powerhouse comparable to Wu Sheng. Ding Xingwang frowned. From the aura that this person exuded, he realized that this person's strength was definitely not below his. Old man. Jun Changshao, on the other hand, clenched his fists tightly after seeing the newcomer's appearance. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he said, we meet again. It turned out that the white-haired old man was the Earth-ranked powerhouse who had once suppressed him with a powerful palm print. Recalling the time when he had been forced to flee in a sorry state like a gopher, Sect Master Jun could no longer suppress his anger. His eyes gradually turned red. When enemies regard each other as outsiders, their eyes turn red with jealousy. Shwa! Shwa! Streaks of light flew over from the east. In just a short while, several hundred yellow and mystic experts from the Crimson Sea continent had gathered outside the Falling Star continent's stronghold. That's a little tough. Ding Xingwang murmured. He had seen Wu Huang in the Falling Star continent before. Now, there were a few hundred of them, and there was no lack of half-saints amongst them. This allowed him to realize that the patriarch was right. The dimensional battlefield really was filled with experts. Senior Che. An old man said in a deep voice, not only did the falling star continent kill many of our Scarlet Sea continent's yellow-class cultivators, even Elder he was killed by them. Damn! Jun Changshao thought to himself, so this guy is from the Scarlet Sea continent. No wonder he suppressed me. This was his first time in the dimensional battlefield, and he had killed the most Scarlet Sea continent's cultivators. Actually, this Earth-ranked powerhouse had disdained to deal with a low-level cultivator. However, he had killed many of his own people during his escape and was even wanted. Thus, he decided to suppress him personally. In the end, he still let him escape to the safe zone. Kid. Che Unc said indifferently, I let you escape last time. You won't be so lucky this time. As expected of an Earth-ranked powerhouse. Every word of his was filled with pressure. Ta! Jun Changshao strode out of the stronghold with his hands behind his back and said, what you should be thinking about now is whether you can return safely if you appear before me again. Very arrogant. Very coquettish. However, the moment he stepped out, Che Unc's eyes suddenly turned cold. A terrifying pressure gathered in the sky and turned into a palm print that pressed down with clouds. Jun Changshao was very familiar with this move. Previously, when he was suppressed, he felt a sense of danger. Now that he had broken through to the half-step wusheng, he felt it again. Although he was still a little afraid, at least he was not as scared. The proof of becoming stronger. Patriarch. Jiangye, the Ning brothers, and the others' expressions changed greatly. They were also afraid of the Earth-ranked powerhouse's palm print. Thus, they were worried that Jun Changshao would not be able to take it. Take it? Only an idiot would take it if he could dodge it. Whoosh whoosh. The palm print pressed down with clouds, and the surrounding space almost distorted under the pressure. However, when it was a few meters away from Jun Changshao, Ding Xingwang walked out of the stronghold and smiled coldly, with me, evil Saint Wu Ju, here, no one can harm the patriarch. Boss! Don't act cool, quickly break this move. Jun Changshao felt that he was under a lot of pressure. If he could not deal with the palm print, he would definitely be depressed. 5 ultimate palms. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 5 kinds of evil aura gathered together, and Ding Xingwang raised his hand to meet it. Soon after, it fiercely collided with the cloud palm print pressing down. Rumble rumble rumble, the deafening sound of the collision rippled in this dark area. All kinds of energy were crazy and wanton, and the space faintly became distorted. When everything calmed down, Jun Changshao's face had a light smile. It was so comfortable to have a bodyguard protecting him. Che Unc frowned and said in realization, no wonder you dared to come out. So there is an Earth-ranked powerhouse overseeing it. Nonsense. Jun Changshao said unhappily, if I didn't bring an expert in, would I have just assumed a posture for you to suppress me? Originally, hundreds of Scarlet Sea Continent's martial artists had swarmed up to chop this guy to death. However, when they found out that the gray-haired old man was an Earth-ranked powerhouse, they hurriedly dismissed the idea and stood in the air to attack from a distance. Jiangye and the Ning brothers also walked out. They stood behind the patriarch and retaliated by glaring at him. The Scarlet Sea Continent side hung in the air, while the Falling Star Continent side stood outside the stronghold. They were glaring at each other, as if saying, what are you looking at? Look at me again. Che Unc said indifferently, kid, do you think an Earth-ranked powerhouse can be fearless in the planar battlefield? Buzz! The space trembled. Old Ding suddenly attacked from behind. 5 kinds of evil aura exploded, instantly spreading in the area. Shameless! Che Unc shouted coldly and immediately waved his palm to meet it. Boom! The 2 saint-ranked powerhouses exchanged blows again. Although there was no clear victor, the energy waves produced were even stronger than before. The Scarlet Sea Continent's elders saw that Jun Changshao had lost his protection and immediately ordered, kill him. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, 70 to 80 yellow-ranked martial artists rushed down, releasing all kinds of moves in the process, instantly forming a beautiful and magnificent scene. Jun Changshao sneered. "Master, get out of the way." Little Long Long stood in front of him and said, "I will burn them to death." Jun Changshao took a few steps back. Jiang Ye and the Ning brothers also subconsciously took 2 steps back, leaving the stage for this contracted beast to show off. "How dare you hurt my master?" Little Long Long clenched its fists, the flames around its body burning crazily. It said coldly, "Then all of you can die." Chapter 886. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, an explosive wave of heat swept over and quickly gathered a few feet in front of them, forming a whirlpool-like wind current. The Scarlet Sea Continent's cultivators felt that something was wrong and hurriedly braked and retreated. However, it was too late. Raging flame storm. Little Long Long shouted. Whoosh whoosh. In an instant, the converging heat wave suddenly erupted into a flame vortex, forming an explosive fire pillar that seemed to break through the sky. The dragon flame technique was fully displayed. Dozens of Scarlet Sea Continent's cultivators didn't have time to dodge. They were trapped in the sea of fire and screamed in pain. Although the following cultivators stopped in time and retreated, it was still difficult for them to resist the raging flames. They were all seriously injured and fell to the ground like roasted flies. "Damn!" Jun Changshao said in surprise, "So powerful?" Ever since Little Long Long learned the dragon flame technique, he had only used it in the inner courtyard. Moreover, he hadn't released it yet, so no one knew how powerful it was. Now, nearly 100 cultivators had rushed over and released it without restraint, causing such a wide range of lethality. It was very powerful and terrifying. When the soaring fire pillar was formed, all kinds of martial skills and energy were instantly incinerated. Dozens of yellow-level cultivators and even 2 black-level cultivators couldn't escape. They were directly engulfed by the soaring fire and burned to ashes. There was only evidence of their existence. Only their dying screams could be heard. After the dragon flame technique burst out, 23 of the 70 or 80 yellow-class martial artists that attacked them died, while 40 suffered severe burns. As for the rest of them, they managed to escape the flame's domain in time. But they were still shocked, and their foreheads and backs were drenched in sweat. What kind of technique was this? The moment it was released, it could produce such a terrifying killing range and lethality. The 10,000 contribution points were well spent. Jun Gosheng laughed. The dragon flame storm was much stronger than the field artillery. If it bloomed in a group of thousands of cultivators, it would definitely burn a large number of them. So powerful? Little Long Long was also stunned. However, the price of being powerful was that it required energy. If it was used again, it would definitely be exhausted. Boom! Boom! In the sky, Old Ding and Xuanzi were already fighting. Both of them were relatively powerful saint-level experts, and their strength was on par with each other. If they wanted to determine the victor, they would have to fight until the younger generation got married and had children. It was even possible for the younger generation to get married and have grandchildren. Of course. Jun Changshao would definitely not let the 2 of them continue fighting. He had been looking for an opportunity to smash the Earth-ranked expert with the Heaven Origin soul-suppressing pagoda when he wasn't paying attention. "Master!" At this moment, the little dragon asked in confusion, "Why is my body red?" "Red?" Jun Changshao hurriedly turned his head to look, only to see a red glow that was different from flames appearing around that guy's body. He broke down and said, "Oh no, you've gone berserk from all the killing." When he first came to this plane, he became famous after killing 19 yellow and 1 black. Little Long Long had killed many yellow-level martial artists and a profound-level martial artist. Now, he had become even more red. Martial artists from the Falling Star continent have killed 23 yellow-class martial artists and 2 mystic-class martial artists. They are now in a killing frenzy. A Class 3 bounty is issued, and the reward is 500 merit points. A deep voice came from the sky. As expected. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. They are wanted. Swish. As soon as he finished speaking, the red glow around the little dragon shot into the sky. All the martial artists within a few hundred miles could clearly see it. Falling Star Continent? Why did they appear again? Are they in a killing frenzy again? This is really a restless plane. Let's go, they are very close to us. Let's go and take a look. If we are lucky, we might be able to snatch a kill and earn 500 merit points. Swish. 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 In an instant, all the martial artists within a few hundred miles of the Falling Star Continent's stronghold gave up on what they were doing and rushed over as fast as they could. Among them, dozens of mystic-class martial artists were alarmed. High-level martial artists killing low-level martial artists would give less merit points, so they might not be interested. However, taking down a Class 3 bounty would give 500 merit points. It was definitely worth a try. Zisu, Bai Qiu. Jun Changxiao hurriedly said, quickly help old Ding get rid of that guy. At this moment, he had roughly guessed that the red glow would definitely attract a large number of martial artists. They had to get rid of that old guy in a limited time. Thud. The Purple King was the first to walk out. Immediately after two explosions, his clothes and pants were torn apart, revealing his muscular body. Jun Changxiao covered his face and said, how embarrassing. Swish. The Purple King disappeared and reappeared in the battlefield. He said coldly, leave this old guy to. At this moment, Ding Xingwang dodged Chuanxi's attack. That powerful palm print landed on his chest. Boom. The Purple King fell to the ground like a cannonball. Jun Changxiao, Jiang Ye and the others. Damn it. The Purple King stood up from the deep pit. His body was covered in purple light. He was furious. I will make you wish you were dead. Swish. As soon as he finished speaking, his legs exploded with power. Boom. The ground caved in again, and energy ripples spread out. Swish. The purple craggy monster monarch shot into the air like a spring. His speed was indescribable. Swish. He closed in on Chuanxi in an instant. He clasped his arms together and smashed forward. The explosion of power shattered the surrounding space. Not good. The Scarlet Sea Continent martial artist's expression changed. He hurriedly used his movement technique and dodged in a strange way. Boom. However, when he steadied himself, the purple craggy Demon King appeared behind him out of thin air. The purple craggy Demon King slammed his elbows into his back, and he fell to the ground with a thud. So powerful! Ding Xingwang exclaimed. The Demon King that required 5 wushings to seal had recovered to the level that he had been suppressed before. His combat power was definitely unparalleled. Swish. The Purple King flew down and hovered a few feet above the deep pit. His purple attributes exploded and formed a huge fist print. Then, he started to bombard. He was furious. He wanted to use his absolute power to make this old guy wish he was dead. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying power exploded again and again. The ground shook frequently. Cracks started to appear in the central area and spread out endlessly. Huff, huff. The energy ripples spread out wildly. The Scarlet Sea Continent martial artists were shocked. Their eyes were filled with horror. It turned out that this guy with purple hair and red underwear was even more terrifying than the gray-haired old man. Could Senior Chuanxi withstand such an explosive attack? This was not the time to care about others. Jiang Ye, the Ning brothers, Elder Gu, Xiao Longlong, Xiao Maxian, and the others were rushing over. Jun Changxiao not only wanted to get rid of the Earth-level martial artist, but he also wanted to kill all the Scarlet Sea Continent martial artists. Bully me? You have to pay a painful price. Chapter 887. Red Sky Raging Flame Slash. 7 mysterious sunglow slash. Jiangya, Old Gu, and the others charged forward, using the Sect of all times' martial arts techniques. Blazing seals and powerful light beams erupted, causing the sky to lose its color and the earth to tremble. Boom! Boom! Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the targeted Scarlet Sea continent was mercilessly harvested, blood and limbs splattering everywhere. Little Long Long and Xiao Ma Xian also joined the battle. The strength of these two contracted beasts was between earth and earth. Every time they attacked, they could take someone's life. The Scarlet Sea continent had suffered a large number of casualties due to the Dragon Flame Storm. Now, they had lost the ability to resist just a few people from the Sect of all times. This could be described as a one-sided massacre. Boom! Boom! The killing continued. As more and more cultivators fell, the falling star continent's stronghold expanded step by step. It might take a few years for other strongholds to grow from nothing, but this stronghold was expanding every minute and every second. The speed was astonishing. Boom! Boom boom boom. The Purple King was still condensing purple fist seals and attacking. In a short period of time, he had attacked more than 40 times. Ding Xinguang's mouth twitched. This guy's strength was very domineering. If he was the one being attacked so intensely, he would have been injured long ago. Patriarch. After a few more punches, the Purple King said, "Should I kill him or cripple him?" He had said this to Su Xiaoma in the Cloud Ridge mountain range before, but the other party had broken down and could not continue the act. "Cripple him and let me do it," Jun Changshao said. The Purple King stopped attacking and cupped his hands. "He's already crippled." "So fast?" Jun Changshao was stunned. Whoosh whoosh, a cold wind blew, blowing away the dust. The area where the purple craggy monster monarch had attacked had a huge crater that was hundreds of meters wide. The Earth powerhouse, Che Yuanxi, was lying in the deepest part. His clothes were disheveled, and his body was covered in wounds. He was very miserable, and there were pieces of shattered mirror in his hand. This item was called the Ancient Imperial Mirror. It was one of the higher-level defensive treasures in the Scarlet Sea continent. When Che Yuanxi blasted down, he realized that the Purple King was stronger than the old man, so he decisively summoned it and formed a defensive barrier in front of him. If it were Ding Xinguang, even if he crazily bombarded the barrier for several hours, he might not be able to break it. However, in front of the Demon King, who was known for his strength, even if he had another defensive treasure, it would be useless. Not only did Che Yuanxi fail to withstand the explosion, but Gu Yujing was also unable to withstand the force and shattered. The Purple King had regained the strength he had before he was suppressed, and now he was training in the Sect of all times. His current strength was absolutely terrifying. It could be said that if Wu Sheng were to fight him alone, there would be no way to defeat him. "Old man." Jun Changshao flew to the top of the deep pit and said coldly, "Today, I'm going to make you pay with interest for suppressing me back then." Shwa! The heavenly origin demon suppressing pagoda appeared in front of him, emitting an ancient aura. "Go! My sweetheart!" Swoosh! The heavenly origin demon's suppressing pagoda flashed and flew down, continuously expanding in the process. The Purple King and Ding Xinguang were not in the mood to care about the pagoda. Instead, they stood there dumbfounded. The Patriarch's words and actions. "Oh my God, this is too shameful, too embarrassing. How could he do such a feminine action? Does he still have any shame?" The Purple King recalled what had just happened, and goosebumps appeared all over his body. At the same time, he pointed at Jun Changshao and shouted, "Pervert!" Jun Changshao turned around and roared, "A naked man who tears his clothes off when he fights. How dare you talk about me like that? Change! Pervert! You! Change! Pervert!" Ding Xinguang. In his opinion, the Patriarch and Hall Master Z were both perverts. Boom! At this moment, a heavy sound was heard. The heavenly origin soul suppressing pagoda was directly pressed into the deep pit. It was surrounded by flowing light and emitted a desolate aura. Ding Xingwang said solemnly, "This pagoda's quality is probably not low." Under normal circumstances, the main character who wielded an awesome treasure would usually suppress his opponent in front of everyone and display his valiant side. However, Jun Changshao first let his subordinates cripple his opponent before using the heavenly origin soul-suppressing pagoda to suppress him. It was very shameless. Huff, huff. The desolate aura instantly spread in all directions. The Red Sea continent's martial artists, who were already at a disadvantage, were affected. Their expressions changed again and again. Among them, there were some experts who knew a little about treasures. They could tell from the aura and pressure emitted by the heavenly origin soul-suppressing pagoda that it is definitely a heaven-grade treasure. Heaven-grade was the Red Sea continent's classification of treasures. It was already considered a divine-grade treasure in the Falling Star continent. Pucci. At this moment, a sword ray flew over. That shocked martial artist didn't have time to dodge and his head was cut off. He kept his sword and said indifferently, daring to be distracted in a life-and-death battle. "You are lucky to be alive until now." However, looking at the heavenly origin soul-suppressing pagoda, he was shocked and thought to himself, a treasure taken out by the patriarch might not exist in the mortal world. It must be a treasure left behind by Senior Qishuan. Congratulations to the participant for defeating an Earth-grade martial artist. You have received 20 merit points. The female system's voice sounded in his ears. Defeated? Jun Changxiao's face was filled with shock. The female system said, "The target is not dead, but he has been judged to have completely lost his ability to fight. The participant will also receive the same reward, but it can only be given once. Even if you kill him later on, there will be no reward." Mwah. I see. Jun Changxiao said in realization, "No wonder when I came to the battlefield for the first time and was tired of running for my life or breaking out of an encirclement, I would be rewarded with merit points if I casually sent my opponent flying." Wait. That guy was smashed by the heavenly origin soul-suppressing pagoda and didn't die. He only lost his ability to fight. An Earth-grade martial artist was so powerful. Swoosh! Jun Changxiao raised his hand, and the heavenly origin soul-suppressing pagoda instantly turned into a pocket-sized pagoda and flew to his side. In the deep pit, Che Yuanxi's clothes were torn, and his flesh was badly mangled. He had completely fainted. Go! Jun Changxiao once again assumed the heart form and shouted shamelessly, "Mine, whoosh! Whoosh!" Suddenly, a strong airwave erupted in the distance. Countless martial artists were flying over at lightning speed. "Old man, you're lucky." Jun Changxiao gave up the idea of suppressing the opponent to death. He sent a message to all the members. "Return to the stronghold." Boom! Boom! After killing 2 more Red Sea continent martial artists, Jiang Ye and the others returned to the Falling Star continent's stronghold at the fastest speed and stood outside the main hall. Little Long Long and Xiao Ma Xian had also returned. When they retreated to the stronghold, countless martial artists appeared from all directions. The number gradually increased from a few hundred to a few thousand. In terms of strength, they were all high-level yellow and black martial artists. "This is a little scary," Ding Xingwang said with widened eyes. At first, he thought that the dimensional battlefield was just a so-so. Now that so many emperor and half-saint martial artists had appeared, he was immediately shocked. Chapter 888. One could tell how terrifying the planar battlefield was from the thousands of experts gathered outside the stronghold. After all, it was rare to see such a grand lineup in a single continent. Fortunately, Jun Changxiao and the others had retreated quickly enough. Although so many people had arrived, they could only stand outside and stare, not daring to charge in. Of course. All the cultivators' gazes were locked on little Long Long. After all, this fellow was crimson red and worth 500 merit points. Senior Che. At this moment, the leading old man from the Red Sea continent landed in front of Che Yuanxi, covered in injuries. Then, he picked up the unconscious Che Yunc and used some kind of escape technique, disappearing into thin air. Wasn't it Su Dingquan and Che Yunc from the Red Sea continent who disappeared? How did they get beaten up like this? Could it be the Falling Star continent? Disbelief appeared in the eyes of the cultivators. The top cultivators in the planar battlefield were only second to the heaven-level cultivators. They were existences that could do whatever they wanted. Yet, they had been beaten into such a sorry state. Everyone. Jun Changshao sat in front of the main hall and crossed his legs. He said proudly, "This is the result of offending the Falling Star continent." From this, the cultivators were certain that the Falling Star continent had dealt with Che Yunc. Thus, they all became vigilant. Someone saw the plaque hanging in the main hall and read, "The strongest sect of all ages." That's right. Jun Changshao said, "My sect." Ha, how arrogant. A low-level existential plane sect dares to name itself the strongest sect of all ages. Who gave you the courage? These cultivators all had their own factions and sections. They would definitely despise someone who dared to name themselves the strongest sect of all ages. In the Falling Star continent, it was fortunate that Yi Tianqing had taken the initiative to remove the words strongest and announced it to the world as the sect of all times. Otherwise, there would have been many dissatisfied major factions coming to find them. In order to develop in a low-profile manner, Jun Changshao chose to compromise. He did not insist on naming himself the strongest sect of all ages. The planar battlefield was different. Firstly, there were no acquaintances. Secondly, there was the stronghold's protection. Even if it was called the strongest sect of all ages, there was nothing to worry about. Dissatisfied? Come in and fuck me. Jun Changshao's current mentality was that since he had come to the planar battlefield, he didn't care about anything else. He was going to show off, Can't beat him? He would leave using the teleportation gate, cultivate for a while, and then come back for revenge. What is it? Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said calmly, "Does the name of my sect need to be approved by the other planes before it can be used?" Brat. A martial artist sneered, "Since it's the strongest sect of all time, come out like a man." Have you finished analyzing his strength? Jun Changshao asked. The system said, there are more than 160 Xian powerhouses and 2,600 Huang powerhouses. Jun Changshao clasped his fingers together and thought to himself, although there are a lot of people, there are no Earth-level masters. I should be able to kill a lot of them in a short period of time and expand the stronghold by quite a bit. But if he were to kill them all, his name would become red. Sigh. He was a little conflicted. Everyone. Jun Changshao said calmly, I'm only here to target the Scarlet Sea continent. You'd better leave quickly, or else. His gaze turned cold as he said, kill without mercy. Kill without mercy. A martial artist said coldly, Brat, can you do that? Mocking smiles appeared on the faces of the others. If it was just them, they might feel a little guilty. After all, Che Yunc had been beaten unconscious. But with thousands of people here, they naturally had nothing to fear. Since you don't want to leave, then don't blame me for being merciless. Jun Changshao waved his hand, and the high-grade True Yang sword appeared in his hand. Then, he confidently put on the mask. Whoosh whoosh. With the support of the True Yang 4 sets, his strength increased in all aspects. Crack. The Purple King and the King of 100 Hills, who were standing at the side, began to shake their heads. Their eyes flashed with a ferocious light that only beasts had. The Patriarch had already transmitted his voice. He could unleash his power without restraint and kill as many martial artists as he could. Jiang Ye and the Ning brothers were also warming up. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Although they had been through many battles before, they all ended quickly. Now that there were thousands of martial artists present, it would definitely be fun to fight. Everyone. Jun Changshao said coldly, I'll say it again. The enemy of the Falling Star continent is the Scarlet Sea continent. Those who are not involved, please leave quickly or else, you will all be buried here. On the battlefield, it was either you die or I live. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not want to offend so many planes. Brat. A martial artist from a certain plane said coldly, don't boast shamelessly in the stronghold. If you have the ability, then hurry up. He pointed at Xiao Longlong and said, let him come out. The martial artists who came did not care about Jun Changshao and the others. They only cared about the red name. After all, killing it would give them 500 merit points. Stubborn. Jun Changshao held the hilt of his sword. Mechanical wings appeared behind him. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he said, then die. As soon as the word die was uttered, he flew out with a whoosh and appeared in front of the powerhouse at lightning speed. A cold and sharp sword light suddenly appeared. Pucci, the sword light dissipated, and a head flew out. Plop! Plop! The corpse and the head fell to the ground. Because the whole process was too fast, the martial artists closest to them were stunned. They did not realize that Jun Changshao had already made his move. Congratulations to the participant for taking down the first blood of the prominent continent's black class martial artist. 100 merit points are awarded. Schwa! Schwa! Jun Changshao ignored the system notification. He turned around and used the linear sword technique. The sky was filled with sword shadows, and the air was filled with sharp sword aura. Retreat! 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 Everyone finally came back to their senses and retreated as fast as they could from the area where the sword aura had erupted. However, there were a few yellow-class martial artists who could not dodge in time and were immediately cut into pieces by the dense sword aura. Pucci! Pucci! Blood splattered, and broken limbs flew everywhere. When the sword aura dissipated in the air, several martial artists died miserably. Congratulations to the participant for taking down the XX continent. The female system reported the merit points for Jun Changshao. Meanwhile, some of the martial artists who had escaped in advance roared, brother! Die! Die! The martial artists' companions that Jun Changshao had killed erupted with their cultivation in anger. They condensed all kinds of energy and blasted it over. Boom! At this moment, a purple energy fist appeared outside the stronghold. Like a bowling ball, it blasted the gathered 20 or so martial artists away. Because the power of the explosion was terrifying enough, those people's bodies could not withstand it in the short period of time they were sent flying. They exploded into a rain of blood. Hiss! The surrounding martial artists sucked in a breath of cold air. Killing so many yellow-class martial artists with a single punch. The strength of the naked body was too terrifying. Whoosh whoosh! At this moment, a violent aura suddenly came from the sky. The sky suddenly darkened. They looked up in shock and saw a huge palm coming down. It's over, boom boom boom, the palm carried a huge force and directly blasted 20 or so martial artists to death on the ground. The attacker was the King of 100 Hills. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. These two guys killed so openly. He was afraid. While he was thinking, the Purple King and the King of 100 Hills bodies shone with red light. A deep voice came from the sky. Two martial artists from the Falling Star continent have killed 46 yellow-class martial artists in succession. They have entered a frenzied state. Level 3 arrest warrants are issued. Each of them will be rewarded 500 merit points. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two red lights shot up into the sky. As expected, Jun Changshao broke down. I'm famous again. Chapter 889. After Xiao Longlong, the Purple King and King of 100 Hills, who had killed dozens of people in a single move, were also wanted. They had become the Emperor's favorites. This was one of the rules of the dimensional battlefield. You could kill without restraint, but after killing a certain number of people, you would be punished and be targeted by others. They're red. They're red. Seeing monster monarch Z Craggy and King of 100 Hills emit a red light that pierced through heaven and earth, the eyes of all the cultivators lit up. Killing a martial artist of the same level would only give 10 points. Killing a wanted criminal would give 500 points. If they killed 2, the merit points would be enough to buy a large amount of martial arts resources and reach the peak of their lives. Not everyone was as strong as Jun Changshao, who could kill people as easily as chopping vegetables. Sometimes, for 10 merit points, martial artists from other planes would fight until both sides were heavily injured. Then, it was possible that they would be ambushed and killed. So, the temptation of 500 merit points was too great. Go! A cold elder said in a low voice. Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, dozens of martial artists from other dimensions flew over. The others also moved quickly. At this time, no one cared about Jun Changshao anymore. They only had eyes for the 2 favorites hanging outside the stronghold. At the same time, they also ignored the terrifying power that they had just unleashed. In front of 500 merit points, people would go crazy. Further away, people from other dimensions were also rushing over as fast as they could. 3 red lights shot up into the sky at the same time. This was very rare, so it was destined that the falling star continent stronghold would soon be filled with people. Kill! Jun Changshao said coldly. Since he was here, and his strength was not bad, then he would fight until the heavens and earth lost their color. Get lost! Purple Craggy Beast King coldly shouted. His purple attribute madly erupted, transforming into 2 large fists that swept away all the attacking cultivators as if they were cutting grass. Bang, 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 bang. In an instant, dozens of yellow-class martial artists were killed. The falling star continent stronghold expanded, but its body became darker. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. He was not worried that the Purple King would become redder as he killed, but with his current strength, killing yellow-class martial artists would only give him 1 merit point each. It was a complete waste. Boom! Boom! On the other side, King of 100 Hills was not as strong as the Purple King, but when he unleashed his full power, he could kill people as easily as grass. Moreover, he was hostile to humans because of his race. He had no qualms about killing them. Boom, boom, boom. After a few rounds, the number of martial artists killed by the Purple King of 100 Hills had almost exceeded 100 hills. The terrifying fighting prowess displayed by the 2 beasts made the yellow-titled martial artists, who had almost lost their minds, gradually calm down. They were so shocked that they retreated one after another, not daring to approach them. Too strong. They would be killed. Right now, Jun Changshao was standing outside the stronghold. Monster King Purple Craggy and King 100 Hills stood on either side of him like guardians. Thousands of fearful martial artists from other planes surrounded them from all directions. The scene seemed to be frozen in time. Everyone. Jun Changshao grinned and said, "Come on, let's have fun." Everyone's mouth twitched. They really wanted to tear this guy's mouth open, but with the Purple King of 100 Hills and King of 100 Hills around, they could only attack from afar. Sigh. Jun Changshao shrugged. A bunch of cowards. With 3 Earth-class martial artists around, he had the right to show off to his heart's content. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, the space in the distance trembled. 2 white-haired elders slowly appeared. They wore long robes and had a vast aura around them. One had a kind face and a smile, while the other had a fierce glare. "This is," one of the martial artists exclaimed, "the kind man and the fierce glare of the 9 Heavens continent." Hearing the words, 9 Heavens continent, all the martial artists' expressions changed. Fear rose in their eyes. There were many planes in the battlefield. Naturally, there were strong and weak planes. The 9 Heavens continent. It was one of the strongest planes in the battlefield. It was said that this was one of the first continents to enter the battlefield. It suppressed the other worlds in the War of Planes and became the king of the plane. In the early days, the battlefield of planes was mainly about fighting for supremacy. Later, as more planes joined, the rules changed with the times. Now, the title of King of the Plane was long gone. It became a chaotic battlefield. Although the title was a thing of the past, as one of the oldest planes in the battlefield of planes, the Nine Heavens continent's strength was unquestionable. Thus, the martial artists of other planes did not dare to provoke them. Of course, this powerful plane had met the requirements long ago. The entrance to the battlefield of planes remained in the continent for a long time. It became a place for people to train. To put it bluntly, many new planes were still working hard to expand their bases. They were still fighting for merit points. The Nine Heavens continent was already outside. They only treated this place as a training ground. Nine Heavens continent. Jun Changshao had never heard of it. However, from the aura of the two elders, they should be stronger than Che Yuanxi, who was knocked unconscious. Dear participant, there are more than 300 planes in the battlefield of planes. The Nine Heavens continent belongs to the first tier. They are very strong. The female system explained. Jun Changshao said, "That's a bit impressive. There are a total of 9 tiers in the battlefield of planes." The female system sweetly said, "The falling star continent you are from belongs to the 9th tier, the weakest and the weakest." Jun Changshao almost vomited blood. I knew it would be like this. I didn't even dare to ask. She took the initiative to say it. Was she purposely trying to attack me? Dear participant, don't be too discouraged. Who hasn't grown up from a child? As long as you get beaten up a few more times, you will slowly become stronger. Moi. The female system said. Jun Changshao wanted to cry. The appearance of the two Earth-ranked warriors of the Nine Heavens continent made the atmosphere even more solemn. These two are famous. The benevolent man squinted his eyes and smiled, "They are our prey. You don't have any objections, right?" His tone was gentle and amiable. However, there was an unquestionable aura in his words. The expressions of the thousands of martial artists changed. They hurriedly said in unison, "No objections. No objections." To show that they really didn't have any objections, they all retreated, leaving the space for the two Earth-ranked warriors of the Nine Heavens continent. Ha! Jun Changshao said, so domineering. The angry evil man glared at the Purple King and said coldly, "You dare to act like this in broad daylight? Do you have any shame? What does my pleasure have to do with you?" The Purple King crossed his arms. His face was full of arrogance. The angry evil man looked very fierce. He definitely had a bad temper. His eyes instantly erupted with anger. "The two of you," Jun Patriarch said, "does the Nine Heavens continent also want to participate and become enemies with the Falling Star continent?" "Young friend." The benevolent man smiled, "We are only here to catch wanted criminals. We don't want to incur the wrath of any plane." Although the Nine Heavens continent was strong, because they had completed their missions early, they would not take the initiative to start a war. They were considered a neutral party in the plane battlefield. Occasionally, they would act as the world police to catch wanted criminals and earn a lot of merit points. "The person you want to catch is my sect's hall master, so..." Jun Changshao said seriously, "That is an enemy." Chapter 890. You want to capture my sect's hall master, so, that makes you an enemy. When Jun Changshao finished speaking, the experts present all had looks of disdain on their faces. One of the experts said coldly, "Kid, I've heard of your falling star continent. Based on the level of the planar battlefield, I'm afraid you're only in the 9th echelon. Compared to the Nine Heavens continent, you're nothing. What right do you have to be an enemy?" His words were harsh, but they were also true. In the face of absolute strength, weak existences were not even qualified to be an enemy. For example, Qin Haran, the former leader of the 100 Sect Alliance, could jump around in front of Jun Changshao in the beginning. However, as the latter grew stronger, he was not even qualified to be an enemy. He could only be an ant at the foot of a mountain. You've just entered the battlefield and haven't even developed your own territory yet, and you're already fantasizing about becoming an enemy of the first echelon. You're a typical example of treating yourself as your root, slap. Before that expert could finish, Ding Xingwang walked out of the space with a hand on his neck. He said coldly, "You talk too much." No, bang! 5 types of powerful evil aura rushed into his body, causing his body to quickly turn black and then explode on the spot. The amiable-looking man and the glaring evil man frowned. This falling star continent martial artist dared to kill someone so brazenly in front of them. This person was quite arrogant. "Both of you," Jun Changshao said, "if the 9 Heavens continent wants to participate, I don't mind using you guys to establish my might today." Establishing my might? The amiable-looking man's smile became even angrier, and the glaring evil man's anger became even stronger. They had been on the battlefield for so long and had killed many red-named people. They had also met many arrogant people, but they had never seen such an arrogant and impudent little guy. "You're asking for it. How dare you provoke the 9 Heavens continent martial artists like this? No one in the world can save you. How can you survive on the battlefield after offending the first echelon?" Everyone muttered in their hearts. The amiable-looking man said, "What's your name, little friend?" Jun Changshao said in a clear voice, "I am Jun Changshao, the Patriarch of the Azure Sun County of the Falling Star Continent." "Oh, it's Jun Patriarch. Sorry for the disrespect." The smile on the benevolent man's face deepened, and his eyes almost narrowed into a line. The cultivators who were familiar with his style hurriedly retreated as they thought, the masters of the 9 Heavens continent are about to make a move. The ferocious evil man at the side glared at the Purple King. He wished that he could immediately slap such an immoral person to death. The Purple King said indifferently, "If you keep looking, do you believe that this king will dig out your eyeballs?" Hoo-hoo. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, the evil man's robes suddenly swelled up, and a vast shock wave burst out, forming clouds that pressed down. At that moment, the stronghold area was filled with terrifying pressure. Hoo-hoo. The clouds and mist rushed down, as if they had turned into a magnificent army. TSK, the Purple King snorted coldly as he turned into a purple stream of light and charged over. He condensed a fist and punched at the clouds and mist pressing down. "You are courting death." The ferocious evil man shouted coldly, and a few strands of his white beard fluttered. The shock wave that erupted from his body poured into the clouds and instantly condensed into a seemingly corporeal arhat. As expected of a powerful Earth Realm expert. When this move was executed, the entire world seemed to have lost all color. Boom! 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 The Purple King was not someone to be trifled with. He punched out with a force that seemed to be able to split rivers and seas, directly breaking all the arhats that were attacking him. Fancy moves were nothing but paper tigers in the face of absolute power. Hoo-hoo! After breaking dozens of corporeal arhats, the Purple King was still charging forward. In the end, he directly pierced through the clouds and charged towards the ferocious evil man. The latter clearly did not expect the other party to break the Cloud Realm Arhat technique so easily. There was no time to consider, because the other party had already attacked. Clear heart not. Buzz! The ferocious evil man waved his hand, and a mirror-like defensive barrier condensed in front of him, emitting a heavy aura. Boom! At this moment, the Purple King's powerful fist directly smashed into the barrier. The area of contact immediately rippled and spread in all directions. Buzz buzz buzz! The space affected by the ripples distorted and even gradually collapsed. All the cultivators were dumbfounded. The aftershock of this punch could shatter space. The other party's strength was definitely not an ordinary Earth Realm expert. The ferocious evil man also realized this, but he was not feeling good because the barrier he condensed was about to collapse under the huge impact. Break! Monster Monarch Z Craggy roared and punched the surface again. Bang! In the end, under the explosive punch, the barrier condensed in front of the ferocious evil man instantly collapsed, turning into fragments that scattered and disappeared into the void. Scram! The Purple King condensed a purple fist and punched. Boom! Before the ferocious evil man, whose defensive barrier was broken, could fly out, his chest took the punch, and he immediately fell down like a cannonball. Bang! 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 The ferocious evil man's scalp stuck to the ground as he flew into the distance. When he came to a stop, a chasm several meters wide and 300 meters long appeared in his field of vision. Holy shit! Jun Changshao exclaimed, so awesome. He knew that the Purple King's cultivation had recovered before it was sealed. However, he did not expect that when it truly erupted, it would be so strong that an Earth Realm expert could not withstand it. All the cultivators were dumbfounded. They had thought that with the appearance of the Nine Heavens Continent's experts, this ferocious man would definitely be unlucky. However, after a few moves, he was blasted away. Humph! The Purple King hovered in the air, his body enveloped by a purple light. He said, trash. Night Emperor often said this word. However, at this moment, when he said it, it was undoubtedly more qualified and imposing. Boom! Suddenly, an explosion came from behind him. A heavy fist condensed from energy smashed fiercely on the Purple King's back. This punch was very powerful. It caused ripples that also disturbed the space. However, the Purple King, who suddenly suffered the attack, still stood in his original position. He did not even move forward a little. The benevolent man crossed his hands and opened his narrowed eyes. His gaze flickered with disbelief. He had seized the opportunity and used a powerful martial technique. The naked guy should not have stood in his original position. He should have been sent flying like the ferocious evil man. However, the result was that he was as steady as Mount Tai. Holy shit! Jun Changshao cursed, so, it's a smiling tiger. Despicable guy, die. The Purple King turned around, gathered purple energy, and charged over angrily. Boom! 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 The earth-shattering purple energy exploded and condensed into a dense fist mark in midair. The kind-hearted man was immediately bombarded into a sorry state, and he had nowhere to hide. All the cultivators were completely dumbfounded. The two Earth Realm experts of the Nine Heavens continent could not do anything to that exhibitionist. Chapter 891. Bang! Bang! The purple light flashed through the air and exploded at times. Benevolent man wanted to resist, but all he could do was try his best to resist the overbearing power. All the martial artists were stunned. Why weren't they stunned? Because the Purple King's attack was too fast. They couldn't see his movements at all. Boom! A few minutes later, the ground shook and dust rolled up. When everything disappeared, a deep pit appeared. Benevolent man, who had been smiling, was lying in the deepest part of the pit with bruises all over his face. Ding Xingwang and the King of 100 Hills' mouths twitched. They thought that they would have to fight hard against the two Earth-level masters from the Nine Heavens continent, but they were all killed by that guy. Swoosh! The Purple King landed slowly and hovered a few feet above the pit. He raised his hand and said, "You can't even defeat me with a sneak attack. What's the point of living in this world?" Huff, 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 purple energy burst out from his body and turned into solid fists. It was obvious that he was going to ravage benevolent man. Leave it to me, Jun Changshao stopped him. The purple craggy monster king withdrew his energy, but just as he was about to leave, he saw the guy put his hands on his chest. His expression collapsed as he spread his legs and roared, "Look, it's a big pervert." Pervert? Everyone looked over and saw that guy placing his hands on his chest and making a heart shape. After shouting, "Go," he pushed it out and said, "My precious baby." Whoosh! The heaven origin soul suppressing tower flew out and fell into the deep pit. It quickly expanded, and finally, with a loud rumble, it suppressed the benevolent man. Ga! Everyone was silent. All the martial artists' expressions froze. Was this something a man would do? Was this something a man could say? Thinking of Jun Changzhao's actions and words, everyone couldn't help but shiver. Damn it! That was disgusting. Wah! A man recalled Jun Changzhao's actions and couldn't help but vomit. Wah, wah, wah! A chain reaction occurred, and many martial artists started vomiting. Not only them, but Lu Qianqian, He Wudi, Jiang Ye, and the others were either frowning or twitching their mouths. However, Jun Changzhao, who had done such a shameful act in public, did not blush at all. He muttered in his heart, "Why isn't there a reward? Could it be that the guy hasn't been seriously injured to the point of fainting?" Shwa! He waved his hand and retrieved the Heaven Origin Soul Suppressing Pagoda. Sure enough, although the benevolent man who was suppressed at the bottom looked worse than before, he was only seriously injured. He still had consciousness and could open his eyes. Damn it! He angrily let out a weak voice and was about to silently use some kind of escape technique. At this moment, Jun Changzhao made another heart-shaped gesture. The kind-looking kind-hearted man happened to see this, and his eyes suddenly became dull. He swore that he had walked a lot in his life, eaten a lot of rice, traveled a lot, and had seen a lot of things, but he had never seen a man do such a shameful thing. Pooh! Unable to suppress his injury, he directly spat out blood. Jun Patriarch's shameful action made an Earth-level martial artist unable to control his mind and spit out blood on the spot. It could be seen how terrifying the lethality was. Go! My darling! Pooh! Hearing this, the kind-looking kind-hearted man spat out blood again, and his thoughts of using a secret escape technique were interrupted. Huff huff! Suddenly, his vision became incomparably dark, and the Heaven Origin Soul Suppressing Pagoda ruthlessly pressed down. Boom! The earth trembled again, and a desolate aura wreaked havoc in the surroundings. Congratulations to the participant for taking down the first martial artist of the Nine Heavens continent, and obtaining 100 achievement points. The female system prompt sounded in his ears. Jun Changzhao waved his hand in satisfaction and kept the Heaven Origin Soul Suppressing Pagoda. However, the kind-looking kind-hearted man had only fainted in the pit, and his heartbeat and breathing could still be heard. Thus, he shook his head and said, "Using this thing to kill an Earth-level martial artist, I need to smash it a few more times." Wah! The Purple King, who was far away, vomited. After seeing Jun Changzhao's shameful action 3 times in a row, he finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Jiang Ye and the Ning brothers' expressions were very ugly. After all, forcefully holding it in was really harmful to their bodies. Under the gaze of so many people, doing shameful actions and shouting shameful words in public, this was definitely not something an ordinary person could do, because they still wanted face. Jun Patriarch obviously wanted face too. However, as long as he could defeat his opponent, he wouldn't care about it. There's one more. Turning around, Jun Changzhao smiled and looked into the distance. Brat! Brat! The evil man stood up with difficulty and glared angrily as he said, "This old man will remember this." The Purple King's strength made him realize that he was definitely not a match for him, so he already had the thought of escaping. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, Ding Xingwang and the King of 100 Hills appeared out of thin air. The two of them stood in the air, their vast auras exploding without restraint. Instantly, the surrounding space was distorted. Saint-level experts could travel through space, but if they messed up the environment, they wouldn't dare to do so. This was because if they accidentally traveled to the deepest layer of the void, they would never be able to come out again. Humph! The evil man sneered and said, "You think you can stop me like this? Naive!" Swish swish swish. He quickly formed hand seals and chanted, 9 heavens 8 desolations 7 stars 6, huff huff. Before he could finish the chant, the purple palm print mercilessly pressed down. Boom! The power of the giant palm print directly pressed the evil man to the ground, his meridians were all damaged. Go! My darling! Huff huff! The giant Heaven Origin Soul Suppressing Pagoda pressed down from above. The evil man could only roar helplessly, "No, boom boom boom." This Nine Heavens land expert was like a benevolent person, directly fainting from the suppression. Jun Changshao was really something. He let the Purple King be responsible for half-crippling him, and then he came to pick up the leftovers. Congratulations to the participant for defeating an Earth expert. You have received 20 merit points. Jun Changshao ignored the notification and hurriedly communicated with the artifact spirit in the pagoda. He said, I didn't do the heart gesture just now. How did I throw the heaven origin soul suppressing pagoda out? It's like this, Master. Arya explained, as long as you shout the chant, it can be activated normally. I added the heart gesture myself. Jun Changshao's expression gradually stiffened. After all this fuss, as long as he shouted, Go, my darling, the treasure would be activated. He actually did the heart gesture several times in a row, and in front of so many people. Why didn't you say so earlier? Master didn't ask. Jun Changshao glanced at the dumbfounded cultivators around him from the corner of his eyes and clutched at his hair as if he was about to collapse. My handsome face has been completely lost today. Chapter 892. Outside the stronghold, it was silent. The expressions of the thousands of warriors present were still frozen. Part of it was because of their shameless actions, and part of it was because of the 2 Earth-level warriors from the Nine Heavens continent being beaten to death. Everyone. Jun Changshao sat on a chair, crossed his legs, and said, whether you are qualified to become an enemy of the first-tier planes is not based on words, but on strength. Fear gradually rose in the eyes of the warriors. 2 Earth-level warriors were beaten to death in such a short time. The falling star continent was definitely a tough nut to crack. They couldn't afford to offend them. Retreat. Whoosh! 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 The warriors immediately used their movement techniques and flew away, as if they were rushing to be reincarnated. Jun Changshao didn't order them to chase. After all, it was his second time coming to the plain battlefield, and he had killed many in just a few hours. The Purple King and the others were also red-named. They first rested for a while before rolling up their sleeves and continuing. Since they were here, they had to have a good time. First, they heavily injured Chuanzi from the Scarlet Sea continent, then dealt with the 2 Earth-level warriors from the Nine Heavens continent. Jun Changshao's prestige was quite successful. The best proof of this was the fact that the martial practitioners attracted by the 3 streaks of red light saw the martial practitioners from other planes fleeing from the targeted area as if they were fleeing for their lives. They were puzzled and asked about the situation. What? The kind-hearted and evil people from the Nine Heavens continent were beaten to death? Impossible. When the warriors confirmed the authenticity of the matter, they hurriedly gave up on the idea of catching the wanted criminals, and turned back the way they came. Even Earth-level warriors couldn't defeat them. Wouldn't it be suicide if they went? The falling star continent can't be offended. Forget it, forget it. Let's just watch the show. Don't lose your life before you get 500 merit points. That's reasonable, that's reasonable. Many warriors from other planes were afraid of the falling star continent. Of course, some people were thinking that the Nine Heavens continent might not give up just because 2 Earth-level warriors were beaten to death. They believed that it wouldn't be long before they sent more warriors to cause trouble. And the Scarlet Sea continent. Many warriors from this plane had been killed by the falling star continent, so it wouldn't be over. If that's the case, someone said, won't we have a good show to watch? The falling star continent must have just been designated to enter the planar battlefield. After offending so many planes in a row, they even offended the first-tier Nine Heavens continent. I heard that their leader is called Jun Changshao. He is the patriarch of the strongest sect in the falling star continent. He is young, but he is very arrogant. The planar battlefield isn't like our own Earth realm. If you act too arrogantly, you'll definitely have to pay a price. In just a short time, news of Jun Changshao of the falling star continent and the Nine Heavens continent's experts being abused spread like wildfire in the planar battlefield, becoming the focus of everyone's discussion. Wait! What about the benevolent man and the scowling evil man? Boom! Boom! Outside the falling star continent's stronghold, Woody planted 2 large pillars and tied the fainted benevolent man and fiendish man to the pillars. Invincible. Jun Changshao sat in the stronghold and drank a mouthful of tea. Be careful, don't hurt them. If you do, it won't be easy to explain to the 9 heavens continent. Woody was speechless. When you used the pagoda to suppress them, you didn't seem to be merciful. Patriarch. Jiangya said worriedly, what if they send more experts? Even a rabbit will bite when cornered. Jun Changshao smiled coldly and said, if they don't cooperate or bully others, we'll just kill them. Elder Gu said, it's not hard to see from the eyes of the warriors from other planes that the 9 heavens continent seems to be very powerful. It's not good for us to incur their enmity when we just arrived, right? It's not good. Jun Changshao put down his teacup and said, but at this point, there's no turning back. We can only accept life and death and fight if we don't accept it. He didn't want to become enemies with the high-level planes. He only wanted to develop and expand his stronghold in the planar battlefield and then focus on the Scarlet Sea continent and Lingyun continent. However, some troubles couldn't be avoided. For example, the 2 Earth rankers from the 9 heavens continent. They had to take the red-named Little Dragon and the other 2. Did he have to wash his neck clean and send them over? Humph. The Purple King put on a brand new school uniform and said indifferently, if they dare to come again, this hall master will put them all down. Invincible. Jun Changshao said, the corpses outside are an eyesore. Think of a way to get rid of them. Yes. Woody walked out and piled up all the corpses on the ground. Most of the corpses came from the Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent. And this was the result of Jun Changshao, who couldn't forget about him. Falling Star Continent. In the altar, a few elders sat cross-legged together, discussing something. From time to time, a conflicted expression would appear on their faces. Everyone. The high priest sighed, relying on the only channels I have, I found out that there are more than 300 planes in the planar battlefield. More than 300. The expressions of the elders changed drastically. According to the minimum of 2,000 people sent in, there would be at least 600,000 Emperor stage rankers. They didn't dare to imagine this scene at all. The high priest continued, the levels on the battlefield are divided into heaven, earth, black, and yellow. The planes are also divided into 9 echelons. Our falling star continent should belong to the lowest 9th echelon. Everyone shook their heads bitterly. There are 4 in the first echelon. They are the 9 heavens continent, the vast continent, the Longyin continent, and the Saras continent. High priest, are the first echelon very strong? Someone asked. The high priest said seriously, according to the information we have, the 4 planes in the first echelon are very powerful. Even during the falling star continent's most glorious ancient era, it couldn't compete with them. Everyone fell silent. The high priest continued, although the 4 in the first echelon are strong, they have already completed the missions given by the upper realm. Martial artists mainly focus on searching for treasures and training. They won't easily target other planes. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. But the high priest frowned and said, the other planes aren't obedient. From what I know, the Scarlet Sea continent, the Lingyun continent, and other planes like to bully new planes. What level? I can't find out for now, but it's definitely higher than our falling star continent. High priest, are you saying that when we enter the dimensional battlefield 5 years later, we should pay special attention to the martial artists from the Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent? That's right. The high priest said seriously, as long as we meet them, run if you can. Don't fight them head-on. What if they chase us relentlessly? Someone asked. The high priest sighed, his eyes filled with vicissitudes of life. Then we can only resign ourselves to fate. High priest. An old man said resolutely, the dimensional battlefield 5 years later will be a disaster for our falling star continent. We have already made up our minds to participate in it. This kind of thing can't be resolved with determination. Without true strength, even if you go. The high priest didn't continue and changed his words. Tell this to City Lord Han and the higher-ups of the major sections. Let them be mentally prepared. Yes. In a short time, the experts who were selected to go to the dimensional battlefield 5 years later all received the news. They all murmured with frowns, the Scarlet Sea continent, the Lingyun continent. We must be careful if we meet them there. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, flames burned in the dimensional battlefield. The corpses of the martial artists from the Scarlet Sea continent and the Lingyun continent were gradually incinerated into nothingness. If the experts from the Falling Star continent saw the martial artists, they were worried about being cremated just like that. Who knew what kind of interesting expressions would appear on their faces? Chapter 893. After a few battles, the stronghold in the Starfall continent had expanded quite a bit. Jun Changshao sat in front of the main hall and murmured, expanding this place to the size of a town is a piece of cake. The system said, with the strength of the Purple King and the others, expanding their territory is easy, but they will also offend more planes and become the target of public criticism. It doesn't matter. Jun Changshao shrugged and said, others can't invade. The stronghold was equivalent to an absolute safe zone. This was his capital to be fearless in the battlefield. Moreover, even if they could invade, it would be fine. He had the teleportation door, at most he could just take his disciples and leave. The plain battlefield was Go Shing's backyard. If they wanted to come and play, they could. If they did not want to leave, as long as they did not stop for a year, the stronghold would always exist. The female system prompted, dear participant, once the stronghold has reached a certain size, it will not be permanently protected. What do you mean? Jun Changshao was stunned. The female system explained, according to the rules of the upper realm, when a plane's stronghold has been built to a certain size, it will be recognized as having a foothold. At that time, it can declare war on other planes, and vice versa, it can also be declared war on by other planes. This is called a plane attack and defense war. What are the consequences of being declared war and losing? If the stronghold is breached, all efforts will turn into nothing. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. Did this mean that it was like a siege in a game? Or was it that the battlefield opened up by the upper realm was actually a game, and he and the warriors from other planes could only follow their rules and move like chess pieces? I'm a little unhappy. Jun Changshao clenched his fist. As the protagonist of his own fate, he naturally did not want to be a chess piece in someone else's game. Of course. The female system said, if the party who declared war can break through the stronghold of the party who was declared war, not only can they expand their territory and receive their spoils of war, they can also obtain a huge amount of merit points as a reward. Jun Changshao's eyes lit up immediately. Although he didn't know what kind of good things he could exchange his merit points for, the fact that all the martial artists were willing to risk everything to kill him after his red name meant that he was very important. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, when my stronghold reaches a certain level, I can declare war on the other continents and then openly plunder their resources. The system was speechless. This guy had just killed so many cultivators from different planes, and he even had a grudge with the Nine Heavens continent. Shouldn't he be thinking that once his stronghold developed, others would declare war on him? It's like this, the female system said. Jun Changshao grinned and said, it seems quite interesting. This kind of mechanism was quite interesting. However, for many years, there had been almost no instances of a dimensional war being declared. This was because when a stronghold had developed to a certain scale, having the right to declare war and being declared war would definitely be based on strength. When two planes started a war, even if one side could be wiped out, they would have to pay a heavy price. Unless it was an irreconcilable grudge, neither side would waste a large number of warriors and resources to attack the other side's stronghold, because in the end, the losses would often outweigh the gains. 2,000 miles away from the Falling Star continent's stronghold, there was a stronghold that looked like a city. It was surrounded by walls, and the words Scarlet Sea Continent fluttered on the city walls. That's right. This was the Scarlet Sea Continent's stronghold. Judging from the size and majestic buildings, this plane was definitely not a low-level one. Within the main hall, an elder with long hair sat at the head of the hall, his brows furrowed. His eyes were filled with worry and anger. There were 4 old men sitting at the head of the table. Their faces were also filled with worry. Palace Lord. At this moment, an elder in a long robe walked in and shook his head. Elder Che's injuries are too severe. I'm afraid he'll need several years to recover. Slap. The elder with long hair slapped the armrest and stood up angrily. Killing so many of my Jade Sea Palace's warriors and injuring Elder Che. This is unforgivable. His name was Hong Yao, the Jade Sea Palace's palace lord of the Scarlet Sea continent. Because this plane had already established itself on the battlefield, after internal discussion, they decided to send a faction to guard it every 5 years. Coincidentally, it was Jade Sea Palace's turn to guard the Scarlet Sea continent's stronghold this time. In terms of the Falling Star continent's level, this sect was definitely not inferior to a first-rate sect that was even stronger than Taishan Shingzong. Why? Because not only was Palace Lord Hong at the Earth level, but the 4 elders below him were also comparable to Wu Sheng. Including the injured Che Yuanzi, this sect had at least 6 Wu Sheng. The first-rate sects of the Falling Star continent definitely couldn't compare. No wonder City Lord Han and the others didn't have much hope of entering the planar battlefield. And this was only one of the Scarlet Sea continent's sections. If they sent a few more, they might not be able to defeat them even with the entire Falling Star continent's strength. Palace Lord. Bring some men and kill them. The elders below him were all filled with righteous indignation. At least 70% of the Scarlet Sea continent's warriors that Jun Changshao had killed on the battlefield were Jade Sea Palace disciples, so they definitely couldn't tolerate this. Moreover, the Scarlet Sea continent had been in the planar battlefield for at least 500 or 600 years. Although they weren't the top echelon, they had always been bullying others. When had they ever been bullied by others, and bullied so badly? This old man is willing to go out and bring that Jun Changxiao's head here as a sacrifice to the dead. A Jade Sea Palace elder said angrily. Palace Lord Hong sat down and said, I heard that 9 heavens continents Ci Mei and Furious Eye were also heavily injured. We don't have to take the lead. The disciples and higher-ups had suffered heavy casualties, and old Che had also been beaten to the point of losing his ability to fight. This made him furious, but he didn't lose his mind. He decided not to take the lead and just wait and see. Palace Lord. At this moment, someone came to report, 9 heavens continents people have sent out 9 Earth-level experts. They're heading towards the Falling Star continent's stronghold. Ha! Palace Lord Hong wasn't surprised, they're going pretty fast. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the sky above the battlefield, 9 majestic streams of light flew out, startling all the cultivators in all directions. 9 heavens continents 9 star elders. They're heading towards the Falling Star continent's stronghold. There's going to be a good show. Let's go. All the warriors rushed towards the Falling Star continent's stronghold in groups of 3 to 5. Along the way, they all thought that the 9 heavens continent had sent out 9 Earth-level experts at once. The newcomers would definitely be scared silly. Jun Changshao, who was drinking tea, felt the 9 auras outside and immediately walked out. As soon as he stopped in front of the hall, he saw 9 powerful experts hovering in the sky. They were 9 old men in blue robes who were about 70 years old. Some had sideburns, some had goatees, and some were bald. Although they all had different appearances, the aura around them was thick and vigorous. Just one look and one could tell that their strength was definitely at the earth level. So many martial saints. Ding Xinguang was secretly shocked. It was already good enough to see 2 Wu Sheng in the Falling Star continent. Now that another plane had sent 9 of them, it was indeed a little shocking. Jun Changshao sat on a chair and put his right foot on it. He smiled, "Are you here to ransom someone?" Chapter 894. After Jun Changshao finished speaking, the Purple King walked out of the stronghold and stopped in front of the two elders. He raised his left and right hands and directly grabbed their heads, the corner of his mouth raised into a sinister smile. The eyes of the 9 Earth-level powerhouses immediately turned cold. In fact, they had already seen the restrained kind-looking man and the angry man. They didn't save them because they thought that since they were here, if the falling star continent had good eyesight, they would definitely obediently release the two of them. It was a typical case of taking themselves too seriously. If June Patriarch had good eyesight, he wouldn't have tied them to the pillar. 9. If you want them to live, exchange them with the martial arts resources that your plane uses for cultivation, such as crystal cores, medicinal herbs, ores, and spirit stones. Every plane had a different realm system, but the martial arts resources were roughly the same. The 9 Heavens continent that Jun Changshao mentioned really did have them. However, when the 9 Earth-level powerhouses heard what he said, their old faces became even longer. At this time, they understood that the falling star continent had tied up the kind-looking man and the angry man to blackmail them. Kid! The bald old man sneered, "You really have guts, daring to blackmail my 9 Heavens continent. The timid will starve to death, and the bold will eat to death." Jun Changshao leaned forward, his hands on his legs, and laughed, "Since I'm going to die either way, I'd rather eat to death than starve to death." The bearded old man said, "I'm just afraid that if I give you something, you won't be able to eat to death. As long as you bring the ransom, you don't have to worry about the rest." Jun Changshao said. The bald old man rubbed his shiny head and said, "What if we don't take out anything to ransom them?" Jun Changshao casually took out a recommendation ticket from a reader from his space ring, gently tore it into strips, and said with a smile, "Of course I'll kill them." "Kill them?" The bald old man narrowed his eyes and said, "If you dare, don't even think about taking half a step out of the stronghold in the future." They couldn't enter, but they could block the door. The falling star continent's territory was only so small. They definitely needed to develop, and one that came out would be destroyed. Jun Changshao was a little depressed. He was the one who controlled the 2 Earth-level powerhouses of their continent, but he had actually fallen to the point where he was being threatened instead. This was too embarrassing. No. He had to do something. Paw! Jun Changshao snapped his fingers. Boom! The Purple King received the order and punched the old man in the chest. Even though he was unconscious, the attack had affected his damaged meridians, and he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing their own people being treated so cruelly even though they were heavily injured, the 9 elders all glared angrily. The bald man said coldly, "Brat, you're courting death. Cut the fucking crap." Jun Changshao said impatiently, 100 natural spirit stones per head, 1 million high-grade crystalline cores, and 1 million high-grade medicinal herbs. If they can't take it out, I'll kill them immediately. It was too tiring to pretend to be civilized, so he had to be barbaric and overbearing. Boom! The Purple King was very cooperative with the Patriarch. He punched the fiend's chest again, fully demonstrating what it meant to be a villain. The 9 Earth-level powerhouses' eyes kept changing, and the anger and killing intent emitted from their bodies became more and more intense. A low-level plane actually dared to extort them in public. This was intolerable. Boom! The Purple King punched again. Wah! The fiend spat out blood again. If this guy was still conscious, he would definitely break down and say, "Why do you always hit me? Why don't you hit him?" When the Purple King attacked consecutively, the martial artists from various planes had already flown over and witnessed the whole process. Their expressions immediately became interesting. Tying C.I. Mei and the fiend to the pillar and letting the 9-star continent pay the ransom, and killing the hostages if they didn't pay. The falling star continent was really bold. Or, knowing that there was no way to reconcile, they simply chose to go all out. Awesome! Really awesome! The martial artists from various planes were full of admiration for Jun Changshao's style. Of course, they also knew that although it was cool to do this, they would also completely offend the 9 Heavens continent. They could forget about surviving in the plane battlefield in the future. Boom! Kacha, the Purple King, punched again, and the fiend's sternum was shattered. Seeing their own people being trampled on like this, the 9 Earth-level powerhouses were furious. Their killing intent spread throughout the whole area, and the space started to distort under the 9 explosive forces. The plain battlefield space barrier was very thick, but it couldn't withstand the collective release of so many powerhouses. Retreat, retreat! The martial artists who were watching the show hurriedly retreated further away, afraid that they would be implicated. However, no matter how the 9 Heavens continent's powerhouses attacked, the falling star continent's stronghold wasn't disturbed. Patriarch. Old Ding transmitted his voice, I'm afraid they won't pay the ransom. Be careful, they might attack and snatch them away. Okay. Jun Changshao said, Hall Master Z, you must control those 2 guys well. Don't let the 9 Heavens continent snatch them away. He could have killed Ci Mei and the Fiend, but since he had already obtained the merit points, why not use them to their fullest and earn more martial arts resources for himself? Humph. The Purple King sneered and said, as long as I'm here, no one can snatch me away. He was so confident when he spoke softly. 8 layers of space bind. Suddenly, the bald old man shouted angrily, and the surrounding space immediately rippled. The sand and dust that were originally drifting with the wind became still as if they were frozen in time. Space martial arts. Ding Xingwang's expression changed drastically. Space-type martial arts existed in the falling star continent, but they were extremely rare, and they were lost after the Battle of the Gods. Be careful! Ding Xingwang shouted, he's going to snatch them. Rumble! As soon as he finished speaking, a violent force came from outside the stronghold. The originally bound space was suddenly unsealed, and dust was swirled up. Whoosh! The bald old man, who had used his space martial arts to seal the space and tried to snatch Ci Mei and the Fiend, flew out of the dust. Then, he stopped in midair in a sorry state. Do you think I don't exist? The Purple King was completely naked, and the school uniform that he had just worn was destroyed. How is this possible? The bald old man was in disbelief. Although the 8 layers of space bind couldn't completely seal the space, it could at least seal it for a few breaths of time. It would be no problem to take advantage of this opportunity to rescue them. But in the end, when he rushed over, that guy threw a heavy punch. He wasn't bound by the space at all. No! It shouldn't be. 5 Wusheng worked together to seal the Demon King. It was a bit of a fantasy for him to control it alone. Go! The bearded old man shouted coldly and immediately flew down. Whoosh! 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 The other 4 Earth-level powerhouses moved together. It was impossible to ransom them, so they could only use their strength to snatch them. They didn't believe that the 9 of them couldn't snatch Ci Mei and the Fiend back from an opponent who seemed to be of the same level. Trash! The Purple King sneered in the face of the 5 Earth-level powerhouses. Then, he opened his hands, and a violent energy suddenly appeared around him. Then, he rushed to the sky like a curtain of light. What a strong demon chi! This guy isn't human. Chapter 895. When the 5 Earth-level powerhouses sensed the violent aura, their expressions changed. Huff huff. At this moment, a light screen that seemed to reach the clouds came crashing down like a huge wave. The whole world instantly became dark. Seeing the Purple King make such a big commotion, Jun Changshao was both surprised and gratified. Using delicacies to control this guy and make him work for me is the wisest choice. The 9 star elders from the falling star continent were very powerful. Ding Xingwang could only contend against one of them. It would be impossible for him to fight against so many of them. The Purple King, who had recovered his strength before being sealed, was not afraid at all, especially when facing the 5 Earth-level powerhouses. He even dared to fight them head-on. Jun Changshao had definitely profited greatly by controlling him. How much he could do in the dimensional battlefield would depend on the upper limit of this guy's strength. Boom! 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 In an instant, the purple energy that came crashing down like a wave collided with the 5 Earth-level powerhouses. The whole space shook violently, finally unable to withstand the force, and started to collapse. All the martial artists were dumbfounded. This kind of chaotic battle between Earth-level powerhouses was rare even in the dimensional battlefield. Moreover, the wanted purple-haired exhibitionist was too terrifying. He dared to fight against 5 Earth-level powerhouses so directly. Luckily, we didn't attack earlier. Otherwise, we would have become corpses long ago. Many martial artists secretly rejoiced that they did not lose their rationality for 500 merit points. Swish! Swish! At this moment, the bearded man and the goateed elder flew out amidst the huge energy waves. Their bodies emitted a dazzling light as they gathered a violent force and pressed down. Their original intention was not to fight, but to snatch people. Get lost! The Purple King shouted angrily, his left and right fist striking the void. At the same time, the purple energy formed a huge fist and directly clashed with the 2 Earth-level powerhouses. Caw caw caw! The ground under his feet shattered, extending out endlessly. Boom! Boom! A deafening explosion was heard. The bearded man and the goateed man collided with the Purple King head-on and retreated quickly, their expressions ugly. This non-human fellow's physical strength was extremely terrifying. Only beasts that focused on tempering their bodies and strength could do this. What made them even more certain was that their other 2 companions had seized the opportunity to rush over, condensing earth-shattering killing moves to attack. However, the Purple King had blocked them with his physical body and stood proudly where he was. Oh my god! That guy's physical defense is too terrifying. All the martial artists exclaimed in horror. An Earth-ranked powerhouse could turn him into ashes with a raise of his hand. Now, when he used a martial technique that could make the heavens and the earth lose its color, his opponent didn't even take a step back. This scene was extremely terrifying. The Purple King's eyes flashed with rage after taking the attack. Hoo-hoo! The violent energy gathered in mid-air and formed a fist, directly sending the 2 Nine Heavens continent martial artists flying. He didn't use any martial arts techniques. From the beginning to the end, he had been relying on his valiant physical strength to contend with the few Earth-level characters. Regardless of whether it was his aura or might, he wasn't any weaker than his opponents. This was a monster king from the upper realm. He had only recovered to the state before he was sealed, but he was already able to contend with 5 Wusheng without falling into a disadvantageous position. If he had reached his previous peak, who in the lower realm would be able to rival him? Awesome! Jun Changshao said in admiration. Jiang Ye, the Ning brothers, and the others were stunned. They didn't expect that the exhibitionist who would rip his clothes off so easily actually had such terrifying combat power. He would thought to himself, this guy came down from a high-level plane like me. How strong was he in the past? Whoosh! Just at this moment, the space trembled slightly. Ding Xingwang flew out from the dark, gathering the power of the 5 ultimate techniques in his palm and attacking. The sudden sneak attack was impossible to guard against. That Earth-ranked powerhouse was sent flying by the Purple King, and his body was temporarily unbalanced. He couldn't dodge at all, and could only take the palm print with his back. With a bang, he fell to the ground. Hiss! He stood up with difficulty, his face slightly ferocious. At this moment, a black palm print appeared on his back. 5 types of evil chi were madly attacking his meridians and mind. Although they couldn't do anything to him for a while, they had to divert their attention to resist and neutralize them, which was equivalent to weakening their combat power. Whoosh whoosh! Just as Ding Xingwang's sneak attack succeeded, 2 Earth-ranked powerhouses from the Nine Heavens continent attacked from both sides. They were very fast. They were very strong. Ding Xingwang couldn't use space travel to dodge, so he could only gather the 5 ultimate techniques and attack one of them. As for the other, he left it to, boom. The King of 100 Hills rushed over quickly and suddenly reached out his hand to block the Earth-ranked powerhouse's attack. Relying on the unique strength of the beast race, he sent his opponent flying. Boom! Without the pressure from the other side, Ding Xingwang successfully exchanged a blow with the Earth-ranked powerhouse on the left. The two were evenly matched, and they both took a few steps back. This guy isn't human either. Everyone looked at the King of 100 Hills and felt his violent aura. They wondered, is the falling star continent a world dominated by beasts? Whoosh whoosh. While everyone was guessing, the King of 100 Hills bent down, and his back bulged rapidly. His body suddenly enlarged, and he took on the form of a giant eyeball beast. Die! His giant arm pressed down on one of the Earth-ranked powerhouses like a mountain. Under the explosion of power, the space was compressed and cracked. Oh no! The powerhouse who was targeted was shocked. He couldn't care less about whether his movement technique was graceful or not, and he fled in an extremely sorry state. Boom! Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Although he barely dodged, the King of 100 Hills' other hand pressed down again, and his speed and strength were even faster than his other hand. Boom! The Earth-ranked powerhouse dodged the first palm, but he couldn't dodge the second one. He was instantly pressed into the pit by the mountain-like palm. The King of 100 Hills didn't stop there. He retracted his hand and raised his foot to stomp on the ground. A giant eyeball stomped on the ground crazily, and the scene was extremely beautiful. Boom! 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 The ground shook, and large cracks appeared on the ground. When the King of 100 Hills stopped, the Earth-ranked powerhouse was lying in the center of the pit, covered in blood. He was also heavily injured. The Nine Heavens continent had sent 9 Earth-ranked powerhouses, but in terms of strength, Ding Xingwang and the King of 100 Hills might not be weak. Beautiful. June Patriarch smiled. Of the 9 Earth-ranked powerhouses, 1 was injured, and 1 was beaten up badly. The remaining 7 were much easier to deal with. At first, June Patriarch thought that the other party would use the martial arts resources to ransom the people, and that would be a happy ending. Now that the Purple King's performance was so terrifying, he had a bold idea. He wanted to keep all 9 of them here to increase the bargaining chip with the 9 Heavens continent. Hall Master Z. Jun Changshao transmitted his voice, don't be passive. If you can deal with them, do it. Okay. The Purple King's eyes flashed with fighting spirit. With a bang, he flew up and charged toward the Earth-ranked powerhouses with a terrifying purple power. He had long wanted to rush out, but the Patriarch had ordered him to watch over the hostages. Once this guy went out, the kind-looking man and the angry-looking man would lose their guard. It should be a good time to snatch the hostages, but the 7 Earth-ranked powerhouses didn't have such thoughts, because they were all targeted. Chapter 896. That's right. 3 of the 9 Heavens continent's 7 Earth-level powerhouses were targeted by the Falling Star continent. 1 was Ding Xingwang. 1 was the King of 100 Hills. The remaining 5 were targeted by the Purple King. The bald guy said angrily, "Kill this madman. The other 2 are nothing to fear." These people were not stupid. They knew that the Purple King was the strongest. As long as they killed him, the remaining 2 would not be a problem. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 5 Earth-level powerhouses rushed over in unison, each releasing their strongest light and fighting with the Purple King. Mad Sand Emperor's Hand. Celestial Dragon Dance. Green Flame Curse. All kinds of high-quality and powerful martial arts techniques exploded in the sky outside the Falling Star continent's stronghold, producing colorful energy. Without 4 Titan cards, one would not be able to move. All the martial artists were dumbfounded. That purple-haired madman was actually fighting against 5 martial saints by himself. Judging from the ruthless aura emanating from him, he was actually not at a disadvantage. Too awesome. Too terrifying. Boom! Boom! In the sky above the Falling Star continent's stronghold, violent energy whistled. The space was already shattered. Ding Xingwang was fighting with a powerhouse. He used all kinds of sinister moves, catching the opponent off guard. Gradually, he gained the upper hand. The King of 100 Hills was even more so. He was completely suppressing an Earth-level powerhouse. However, their fight was far inferior to the Purple King's. After all, this guy was fighting 1 against 5. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, all kinds of high-level martial arts techniques whistled crazily. The Purple King blocked them with his physical strength alone. Then, he attacked fiercely and repeatedly, forcing the opponent to retreat. All the martial artists were stunned. Jiangya, the Ning brothers, and the others were also stunned. 1 against 5. And not at a disadvantage. How awe-inspiring was that? Whoosh! Jun Changshao stood up, put on the true Yang mask, and said, "It's time to show my real skills." Judging from the situation, the two sides were fighting intensely, but they were in a stalemate. If they wanted to change the situation, there had to be an element of uncertainty. Jun Gosheng, who had a full set of top-tier equipment and was half a step away from Wusheng, was very suitable to be this uncertain factor. It was mainly because the Purple King was in the limelight. If he didn't do anything, wouldn't he be laughed at? Boom! At this moment, a loud explosion came from outside the stronghold. The bald man had been punched down by the Purple King. My chance is here. Jun Changshao's eyes lit up. Immediately, he controlled the mechanical armed wings and flew out. The true Yang sword in his hand emitted a dazzling light. Taking advantage of the fact that the opponent was about to land, Jun Changshao slashed forward. Huff huff, sword chi crisscrossed, tearing apart space. The bald man, who had barely managed to stand firm on the ground, hastily retreated in desperation, only to see the unparalleled sword chi sweep past his scalp. Even though he'd barely dodged the attack, he was greatly shocked in his heart because the might contained within the sword chi was sufficient to prove that Qinshi's understanding of the sword Dao was extremely deep. This kid. Similarly, they should not be underestimated. Shwa! Shwa! Jun Changshao quickly came over and performed the one-word sword technique. Dense sword chi suddenly appeared like an inescapable net. 10,000 arts augmentation. The bald man shouted loudly. His whole body radiated light, forming layers of protective shields. Ding ding ding. The sword chi blasted on the shield, producing a crisp sound. However, under the frequent bombardment, cracks began to appear. When the last sword chi pressed down, it was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. Huff! The brilliance in the sky dissipated. Puff! The bald man spat out a mouthful of blood. Being punched by the Purple King was already extremely embarrassing. In addition, the defensive move he had performed in a hurry was broken. Immediately, it brought about a double backlash, and his meridians were damaged in many places. Die! Jun Changshao's eyes turned cold as he rushed over again. He didn't foolishly approach the bald man. Once again, he performed the one-word sword technique, forming a dense sword attack. The bald man didn't dare to fight head-on and hurriedly flew out. Although he rushed out of the sword net attack, his right arm was inevitably slashed by the sword, and blood flowed down. All the martial artists suddenly widened their eyes. The aura emitted by that guy was at most at the Shen level. To be able to injure an Earth level, could it be that the sword in his hand was extraordinary? Sorry. Not only the sword. The boots on his feet, the armor on his body, the mechanical wings on his back, and even the mask on his face were all extraordinary. When these things were combined, the strength provided was very obvious. Jun Patriarch was now a RMB warrior, and he was the kind who held the dragon-slaying saber. Shwa! With the fusion of the armament wings and the power of flight, he flew out and then raised his sword and slashed at the bald man crazily. Everyone, come and see. The rich player is bullying the hard-working player. Shwa! Shwa! The sword shadow moved horizontally, and the sword aura rippled. Jun Changshao released his sword aptitude to the extreme, and he performed the Ling Jian God technique to the extreme. At that moment, the surrounding air was suppressed by the powerful sword aura. Wherever the sword aura passed, sword marks appeared in the air. In a short time, the injured bald man was suppressed by Jun Changshao to the point that he couldn't speak. When he flew out of the battle area with difficulty, there were more than 10 wounds on his body. Blood covered his body, and he became a famous person in the truest sense. Boom! Boom! On the other side, the Purple King was still fighting the 4 Earth-level masters alone. However, because there was one less, it was a lot easier, and his attacks were more powerful. The Bearded Man, the Goat Man, and the others were depressed. With one less companion to pin down, the pressure was obviously much greater than before. Boom! At that moment, Ding Xingwang relied on a sinister move and successfully sneak attacked his opponent, slamming him to the ground, and a black palm print appeared on his back. Whoosh! Jun Changshao seized the opportunity and suddenly turned around, killing the Earth-level master who was fighting against the 5 ultimate evil chi. Ka ka ka! In a very short time, the arm holding the sword quickly entered battle mode. Sword chi traversing 30,000 miles. One sword light chills 19 continents. Jun Changshao shouted and suddenly slashed down with his sword. Unparalleled sword chi rippled out from the space, tearing down with the force of a river. The Earth-level master who was fighting against the 5 ultimate evil chi in his body had a bad feeling, and he panicked and moved his body. Poochie! Blood splattered, and his arm fell to the ground. Jun Changshao's sword was very fast, and it was also very clean. After the Earth-level master dodged and blood splattered for a while, he finally realized that his right arm had been cut off. Intense pain spread throughout his body. The 5 ultimate evil chi flooded his sea of consciousness like a flood. Ah! The Earth-level master who lost his arm screamed. Die! Jun Changshao flew over, and the True Yang sword directly tore through the space, and an incomparably cold sword chi pierced through with a whoosh. Poochie! The sword light swept past, and a head was cut off. Plop! That person fell to the ground, and his head fell to the side. His expression was ferocious, and his eyes were wide open. Dead! Dead? The Earth-level master was killed. Oh my god! You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.